Chapter 307. Boss, that Qin brothel is also one of your businesses? The fourth brother, Mao Yi, grinned slightly and looked at Jingyu with uncertainty. Of course. Jingyu smiled at the crowd and said, there's no need to be so surprised. There's no written rule that says women can't open brothels. Boss is really different from the rest. Mao Yi lost his composure and laughed out loud. Instantly, several gazes glared at him. Mao Yi coughed and quickly restrained himself. Qin brothel is a bit special. If you're willing to go, then go. If not, I won't force you. Jingyu looked at Mao Yi's actions and raised her eyebrows slightly. Boss invited us here. It's the same wherever we go. Xiao Wenshi waved his hand and said, we'll listen to boss's arrangements. Everyone agreed. Jingyu smiled. This Qin brothel was a place where good and bad people mixed together. If one wasn't careful, it could be a disaster. Compared to being a guard in an official's house, it wasn't a comfortable job. Jingyu heard everyone's agreement and let out a sigh of relief. She couldn't always guard the brothel. Now that there were 6 people guarding it, Jingyu didn't have to worry. She then led everyone to the brothel. When Lu Man saw Jingyu bring 6 people, she was shocked. Looking at the 6 people's backs and waists, and their eyes were filled with hostility. It was obvious that they were men who had seen blood before. Just by standing there casually, they had an oppressive aura, which really frightened the girls. When Jingyu said the purpose of the 6 people's visit, everyone's eyes lit up. Lu Man was still thinking about this matter a few days ago. Today, Jingyu brought them here. Lu Man, I've brought them here. Jingyu looked at Lu Man and smiled faintly. You can discuss the arrangements. They are friends, not subordinates. They respect me as boss and are on the same level as you. How you want to get along with them is up to you. Boss, don't worry. I understand. Lu Man obediently agreed. If there's anything you need me for, come find me at the Rich Come restaurant. Jingyu left after saying that. Lu Man was stunned. Only now did she know that this Qianlai restaurant was also Jingyu's business. She thought about the rumors from not too long ago. The 9th imperial concubine chosen by the 9th emperors should also be Jingyu, right? Her boss is Jingyu? The 9th imperial concubine chosen by the 9th emperors. Lu Man's eyes were filled with complex emotions. She then smiled in relief and turned to enter the house. Jingyu, on the other hand, leisurely made a detour back to the prince's mansion. The groundbreaking of the mansion was imminent. Jingyu had also finally finished drawing up the blueprints and had second Xing arrange for someone to find a date to start work. There needs to be someone in charge of the construction. Otherwise, it really won't work. Jingyu thought about it and then called Xiao Wenshi to the restaurant. When Jingyu told Xiao Wenshi her idea, he was shocked. This was a big matter that involved supervising the excavation. He didn't think that Jingyu would let him take on the responsibility without any hesitation. How could he accept this? Boss, you can't do this. Xiao Wenshi hurriedly waved his hands. Jingyu gritted her teeth and turned to glare at Xiao Wenshi. It's too tiring to deal with people like you, boss. Xiao Wenshi's face was full of bitterness. Just tell me if you want to do it or not. You're a grown man, so shy. Jingyu glared and said, if you don't want to do it, then forget it. I'll find someone else. But boss, Xiao Wenshi hurriedly said, let me tell you, I don't like to drag my feet when doing things. Don't tell me that you're afraid of messing up something so important. Since I'm giving you this task, then it means that I'm sure you can do it well. So what if you mess it up? I'll just start over. How can there be so many twists and turns? So long-winded. Chapter 308. Jingyu's words filled Xiao Wenshi's heart with complex emotions. He suddenly stood up and knelt down in front of Jingyu, saying loudly, thank you, boss, for your generosity. This lowly one is willing to serve boss with all his might from now on. Get up. Jingyu stared at Xiao Wenshi uncomfortably and said, I've said this a long time ago. Don't kneel down in front of me. At first, I only helped you because of the benefits. Now, I treat you as my friends. If you still do this in the future, I'd rather spend a lot of money to hire someone else than have anything to do with you. Boss. Xiao Wenshi's heart was filled with gratitude. They were poor and had nothing, but they were treated like this by Jingyu. They would never forget this kindness for the rest of their lives. Jingyu helplessly held her forehead. It was impossible to change the stubborn and inflexible way of thinking of the ancient people in a day. She could only make do with it. Then, Jingyu asked Xiao Wenshi to find another helper, and the two brothers started supervising the construction of the mansion. Xiao Wenshi and Du Peng were two people. Xiao Wenshi was a steady person, while Du Peng was a smooth talker. The two of them were a good combination. Jingyu took the blueprint and spent an entire day explaining it to the two of them. She made them understand it thoroughly, and then she gave them the money without holding back. This action shocked the two of them greatly. They looked at Jingyu's departing footsteps from afar, and their eyes were filled with gratitude. They couldn't calm down for a long time. Shen Yuqing walked up at the right time. Looking at the two of them, he sighed. Boss has always been like this. The two of you don't need to think too much. As long as you do what boss asks of you, that will be the best way to repay boss, Shen Yuqing said as he patted the two of them on the shoulder. Uncle Shen, when the restaurant was being built, boss was like this too? The two of them asked in surprise. Haha. Shen Yuqing nodded and said, at that time, my expression was the same as yours. I was thinking about how to repay boss. Now that I know, as long as we manage the restaurant well and make money, that will be the best way to repay boss. Boss is also very happy. Xiao Wenshi and Du Peng looked at each other, their eyes filled with determination. They quickly bowed to Shen Yuqing and said, us brothers have just arrived here, so there are still many things we don't know. We hope Uncle Shen can give us some pointers in the future. No. We are all people of boss. Shen Yuqing. Of them. There were people to manage the construction of the mansion, so there was nothing to worry about with the restaurant, and Qin Lu Jingyu finally had some free time. Xiao Chen left the residence for a few days and came back. The 15th day of the first lunar month was the Lantern Festival. The busiest Lantern Festival in the Imperial City had finally arrived. I wasn't able to be with you at the Begging Festival last time. Tonight is the Lantern Festival. Jingyu, if you dare to run around again. Xiao Chen held Jingyu in his arms early in the morning. Hearing those threatening words, Jingyu trembled violently. Yi. Ninth Master. Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen with tears in her eyes and said, let's make it clear. I didn't want to do that last time. It was that crazy hellion Theo who forced me. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and snorted in displeasure. Tonight, all the members of the imperial family will be present on the exquisite lantern boat. Come with me. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, it can't be. Jingyu swallowed her saliva with difficulty and said, isn't it just a lantern festival? Is there something special about it? Chapter 309. Isn't it just a lantern festival? Could it be that there's something special about it? You'll know when you get there. Xiao Chen left this sentence and left, leaving behind Jingyu with all kinds of worries. Couldn't he have gone to play by himself? Why did he have to gather so many people together? It was clearly so uncomfortable, but he still welcomed her with a smile. Wasn't he tired? Jingyu looked up at the sky and sighed. It was tiring to be a person, but it was even more tiring to be someone else's imperial concubine. Before the Lantern Festival, Xiao Chen sent someone to deliver a set of clothes and jewelry for Yin Xiao to dress up Jingyu. Jingyu looked at the colorful clothes and her face turned green. Dressed so ostentatiously to be a peacock? Jingyu refused to wear it no matter what, minding her own business as she went to the wardrobe to search for the clothes she liked. Imperial concubine? That's a banquet, you can't wear black. Yin Xiao had a bitter expression as she looked at the clothes that Jingyu picked out. Most of the colors were dark, and she picked up a piece of black and couldn't put it down. Jingyu's hand that was holding the clothes stiffened slightly. She sighed helplessly and casually picked up a piece of clothing, saying, forget it, I'll take this. Yin Xiao looked at the red and gold matching clothes that Jingyu took out and finally let out a sigh of relief. Yin Xiao put in all her effort to dress up Jingyu. The red clothes on Jingyu didn't appear vulgar or charming, but instead had a fierce aura. That light gold eye makeup was especially moving, and her black hair was tied up with a gold hairpin, adding a bit of nobility. "Yin Xiao, your skills are really getting better and better." Jingyu looked at herself in the bronze mirror and twirled around in satisfaction. Other than those glittering things, everything else was good, but it wouldn't be good if she didn't wear them. Jingyu had no choice but to compromise. Xiaochen waited outside the Fu. The sky was dark, and Xiaochen was about to have Xing air rush her when his sharp ears heard the sound of metal clashing. He calmly stopped Xing air's movements and looked up. At the corner of the Fu, Jingyu walked over. Her delicate little shoes and petite figure suddenly appeared. Her red clothes shone with a dazzling golden light. Even her casual blinking and turning of her eyes were so casual. Those pitch-black eyes looked at Xiaochen, and the corners of her mouth curved up so dazzlingly. Xiaochen's eyes suddenly widened as he looked at Jingyu walking over. That fiery red figure made Xiaochen dazed for a moment. Jingyu stood beside Xiaochen for a long time, but didn't see any reaction from Xiaochen. Jingyu frowned in confusion. "Xiaochen," Jingyu called out during the meeting. Xiaochen was a little surprised as he looked at Jingyu standing in front of him with furrowed brows. "Aren't we going to Mingbian Lake? Why are you standing there like a fool?" Jingyu frowned and said, "Let's go." Xiaochen lowered his eyes and responded. He turned around and got into the carriage. Jingyu looked at Xiaochen, who was a little strange. She blinked her eyes and got into the carriage as well. They went all the way to Mingbian Lake. Inside the carriage, Xiaochen frowned slightly as he looked at Jingyu. Xiaochen's gaze made Jingyu's hair stand on end. She stared at Xiaochen strangely and said, "Why are you looking at me like that? I think this is the first time I've seen you in red." Xiaochen raised his eyebrows and said, "Ugh." Jingyu lowered her head guiltily. In fact, this was the second time she had worn it. The first time was when she followed Heli and Theo to the Empress Dowager's birthday banquet. However, Jingyu definitely wouldn't say it out loud. Chapter 310. Very beautiful. Xiaochen lightly praised. Immediately, Jingyu widened her eyes as if she had seen a ghost. She looked at Xiaochen and said with uncertainty, "Xiaochen, did you take the wrong medicine?" Xiaochen's face suddenly darkened. "Heavens! You actually know how to praise people. This is even more frightening than the sun rising from the west." Jingyu stared at Xiaochen with a face full of surprise. Xiaochen silently looked at Jingyu. He was too lazy to pay attention to Jingyu's crazy appearance. Mingbian Lake could only be said to be the most lively today. The sea of people really shocked Jingyu. Jingyu's eyes widened when she saw a huge ship by the side of Mingbian Lake. How come she didn't know that there was such a ship in the imperial city? "The 9th Emperor has arrived." A shout sounded and the attendants by the side of the ship all knelt down to welcome him. Under the lanterns, Xiaochen stood proudly in his black brocade robe. The pattern outlined by the golden thread totem was particularly eye-catching. That noble aura and cold temperament made everyone lower their heads, not daring to look at him directly. Jingyu jumped off the carriage and was speechless when she saw this scene. The reputation of the 9th Emperor was not just for show. Looking at the expressions of the crowd, Jingyu looked at Xiaochen. Xiaochen extended his hand to Jingyu. Jingyu naturally placed her hand in Xiaochen's palm and stepped onto the ship. The red robes were very eye-catching. They were either stunned, jealous, or envious. All kinds of gazes were directed at Jingyu. This made Jingyu feel even more pressured. When she boarded the ship, Jingyu looked up and realized that most of the people had already arrived. They were all familiar faces. "Greetings, 9th Emperors." Everyone bowed and kowtowed. Jingyu stood beside Xiaochen and accepted the kowtow. Inexplicably, she felt very comfortable. "You may rise." Xiaochen let go of Jingyu's hand and stood with his hands behind his back. The aura he exuded made people unconsciously lower their heads. What surprised Jingyu was that the Crown Prince had also come. Didn't they say that the Crown Prince had always been in poor health and never participated in such matters? Xiaochen sat on the high seat, while Jingyu calmly sat beside Xiaochen, receiving everyone's attention. She narrowed her eyes and looked down. Sure enough, this so-called Lantern Festival was just a gathering of the younger generation. With Xiao Chen and the Crown Prince as the leaders, everyone else sat at the side of the table. There was good wine and delicious food, as well as a large stage in the middle. Jingyu looked at the stage in a daze. Could it be that this lantern festival had some kind of performance? This was a ship. With the ship's movements, could she guarantee that she wouldn't lose her footing? I didn't expect that the 9th emperors would actually come to the Ling Long boat today. This prince is truly shocked. Xiao Jingran's eyes narrowed slightly as he scrutinized Xiao Chen. What? Only you, Xiao Jingran, came to this boat. This king can't come? Xiao Chen smiled coldly and replied Xiao Jingran with no trace of politeness. 9th emperors, what are you talking about? In this prince's eyes, the 9th emperor is a high and mighty person. To actually come to this boat, this is the first time. Xiao Jingran's words caused Crown Prince Xiao Yuling's expression to change slightly. Wasn't this sending the 9th emperors to the edge of the storm? Second Prince, if you don't welcome our 9th emperors, then forget it. We'll just leave. At this moment, Jingyu suddenly spoke up. I didn't know etiquette and thought that everyone could come to this boat. I didn't expect that only you, Xiao Jingran, can come. My 9th emperors can't. Chapter 311. What do you mean? Xiao Jingran's expression changed slightly as he looked coldly at Jingyu. Whatever you mean, I mean it. Jingyu ignored Xiao Jingran's gaze and raised her eyebrows nonchalantly as if she was just casually speaking. This made Xiao Jingran extremely angry. If it was anyone else who spoke up for the 9th emperors, Xiao Jingran would have 100 reasons to refute them. However, it was Jingyu, the 9th emperor's chosen imperial concubine. The moment she opened her mouth, it was obvious that she had exposed her identity. In any case, she was someone with no background. She didn't know any etiquette when she asked the 9th emperors to come to the boat. As a result, Xiao Jingran was left speechless. We're all a family. We're just gathering for the liveliness. Come, let me toast everyone. When the atmosphere was stiff, Crown Prince Xiao Yuling jumped out at the right time and broke the atmosphere with a single sentence. Everyone chimed in and Xiao Jingran lowered his head with a gloomy expression. The banquet officially began. Everyone raised their cups and drank. However, the singing and dancing girls had a great background. Xiao Jingran proudly introduced them to everyone. The singing and dancing girls were all invited from the Qin brothel and they were all heavenly beauties. Second Prince, aren't you exaggerating a little too much? Aren't you just saying that brothel girls can be heavenly beauties? When Jingyu heard Xiao Chen's introduction, her jaw almost dropped from shock. This Xiao Jingran actually invited the singing and dancing girls from the Qin brothel? Miss Jingyu, you don't know about this. It's strange that the Qin brothel has only been open for 10 days, but its reputation far surpasses that of other brothels. Not only are the girls in the Qin brothel all sentimental people, which one of them isn't proficient in the 4 arts. What's more, there are people who can live up to the 4 words civil and martial. A young master said excitedly. What? A brothel girl is proficient in the 4 arts? Proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting? Jingyu's eyes widened in shock. That's natural. This lowly one didn't believe it at first, but after going there once, this lowly one discovered that this Qin Lu was really like this. They were able to casually talk about your essays and poems, they were able to talk about the heavens and the earth, and although they weren't a match for them in terms of martial arts, their sword dances and whips were definitely an eye-opener for you. That young master spoke as if he was enjoying himself. How can you be so self-righteous when you're just visiting a brothel? Princess Xiling, who was at the side, curled her lips in disdain. Princess Xiling, you'll know whether or not my words are true once you take a look. Men aren't the only ones who can enter the brothel, and not all women sell their bodies. Whether or not you sell your bodies depends on whether or not you're in love with each other and whether or not you're willing. If you use force, you'll end up with broken limbs and bones lying in the marketplace, the man said with disdain. I didn't expect there to be such a place in the imperial city. How strange. Jingyu was secretly laughing in her heart, but her expression was one of shock. She turned to Xiao Jingran and said, since that's the case, what is Second Prince waiting for? I'm sure everyone can't wait to see how beautiful the girls in the Qin brothel are. Xiao Jingran calmly raised his eyebrows. The sound of clapping rang out and the originally bright lights around them suddenly went out. Everyone was shocked and turned their gazes to the stage. 2 pieces of red silk suddenly flew past and the heavy sound of drums rang out, causing everyone's hearts to violently jump. Chapter 3:12. The heavy drumming gradually became more hurried, and finally fell like raindrops. Everyone was immersed in the drumming, and finally, the drumming suddenly disappeared. Everyone's hearts tightened, and only then did they see a drunk woman lying on the stage. It was also at this moment that a clear and deep sigh sounded, and the sound of a string instrument slowly rang out. The woman lying on the stage trembled slightly, and then, under the influence of the string instrument, the trembling became more and more intense. She swung her sleeves and stood up. With a hat of misty rain, I quietly wait for the sky to break through the clouds. A clear and pleasant voice slowly rang out. Listening to the 3 clear sounds, I also heard, turning my hand to reverse fate, turning my hand to restore the universe. Why is there a need to differentiate between Tao and monk? Carved on the frostflower sword is a strand of loneliness, treading over 1,000 mountains to cleanse the demon's soul. The woman on the stage had a soft and moving figure, and the swinging of her sleeves and the twisting of her waist were very moving. Her voice was gentle and moving, but what she sang had a different meaning. Everyone's hearts trembled, and they looked at the dancing woman on the stage with amazement. In a trance, they seemed to see the scene of the misty rain permeating into their ears. A young man dares to scold the world for being heartless. I don't care if it's an opportunity or a disaster. Drunkenness plays a song, between a dream and me, which is real. I can't let my heart be troubled by the disciples of oblivion. The melody was clear and moving, and it was as if they saw the young man carrying a long sword, heroic and daring to compete with the world. The red silk fluttered like the red rope in the hands of the moon elder, and the woman's figure rose and fell, causing everyone to be dazzled. The road to immortality is near, and the rain and snow fall in the distance. Loneliness may as well face people with a smile. The singing continued, and it was so moving. The dancer danced and spun, and finally jumped and spun in the air before landing. She bowed her head, and the sound of the string instrument slowly fell. Everyone was stunned, and the surroundings were silent. After such a long time, no one had broken away from this artistic conception. I, Snow Lotus, present the drunken immortal rain with a song and a dance. The woman slowly raised her head. That moving smile, the perfect etiquette, and the exquisite makeup. This woman's original appearance was not worthy of the praise of heavenly beauty, but if one thought about the dance and the song just now, she was definitely worthy of the words heavenly beauty. This song should only be heard in the heavens. How many times can it be heard in the mortal world? Wonderful! Wonderful! Snow Lotus. Snow Lotus' eyes flickered, but she stiffened her neck and agreed. Clearly, this song had convinced Snow Lotus. Jingyu raised her eyebrows and smiled, then turned to look at Xiao Qin, who had a calm expression on his face. The pride that had just risen was immediately thwarted. Why aren't you reacting at all? Jingyu poked Xiao Qin's arm and said unhappily. How do you want me to react? Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows and said, everyone is amazed by the beauty of this dance, but I am the one who created it. How do you want me to react? After Xiao Qin finished speaking, Jingyu widened her eyes in shock. Xiao Qin lowered his head and looked at Jingyu. The burning gaze in his dark eyes made her blush. Why did she feel like this man was saying something romantic? And he was saying it so casually and confidently. Chapter 3:13. Didn't you object to me opening a brothel? Jingyu pouted unhappily. Xiao Qin narrowed his eyes and said, I didn't say I didn't object. Jingyu was stunned. As long as you don't show your face at the brothel, I'll reluctantly allow you to manage it. Xiao Qin seemed to be reluctant. Jingyu's mouth twitched when she heard this. Xiao Qin was clearly showing off, but he was unbelievably arrogant. Ninth Emperors? Is the Ninth Emperors not participating in the Lantern Riddles competition? Just as Jingyu and Xiao Chen were talking, A familiar voice suddenly interrupted them. Xiao Chen frowned and looked up. Lantern riddles. Jing Yu blinked slightly and looked at the people below. Only then did she realize that after the dance ended and Xue Fu retreated, it was the first interesting event of the night. Guessing the lantern riddles, whether it was words or pictures on the riddles, whoever answered the most correctly would obtain the only exquisite lantern on this Ling Long ship today and also obtain the title of the most talented woman in the Imperial City. Last year, the person who won the title of the most talented woman in the Imperial City was Jing Yan from the Jing clan. This year, a new round began. Would Jing Yan be able to keep her title? Ninth Emperors, what do you think? The voice rang out again. Jing Yu turned her head and saw Ning Xiangyuan looking at Xiao Chen. She said, "This lantern is the biggest lantern tonight. Which woman here doesn't want it? I wonder if the Ninth Emperors is willing to help this humble woman?" The contestants of this lantern riddle competition were all women. Each woman could invite 3 men to help her. If one person answered incorrectly, they would be removed from the list and continue to answer the question. If everyone answered incorrectly, then the woman would answer the question herself. In the end, the winner or loser would be decided. Now, Ning Xiangyuan already had 2 young masters helping her. Who would have thought that Ning Xiangyuan would have this idea on ninth uncle? Before Xiao Chen could respond, Jing Yu laughed and attracted everyone's attention. I wasn't interested in the lantern riddles at first, but now that I see Ning Xiangyuan putting so much effort into it, I'm suddenly interested. Jing Yu smiled faintly. She raised her head and smiled proudly. Tonight I, Jing Yu, will be taking this exquisite lantern. Jing Yu, you sure talk big. It's hard to say who will get this lantern. Jing Yu stood up and narrowed her eyes at Jing Yu. I'm sorry, Miss Jing Yan. I'm afraid your title as the most talented woman in the Imperial City will have to be given to someone else. This lady will generously take it all. Jing Yu's words could be said to be extremely arrogant. Although others could see that Jing Yu was targeting Ning Xiangyuan and Jing Yan, they didn't feel good about it. The competition hadn't even started and there was already a commotion. Shengguan Linglan showed his considerable ability to rally people. He actually managed to convince a large number of people to cheer for Jing Yu. How could Jing Yan and Ning Xiangyuan fall behind? In an instant, the 2 groups became very distinct. Jing Yu and Shengguan Linglan led one group. Ning Xiangyuan and Jing Yan teamed up to form another group. It was supposed to be a free-for-all competition, but now it had become 2 groups. Our people are all here. Jing Yu, where are the young masters you called? Jing Yu looked at the people behind her and turned to look at Jing Yu mockingly. What are you being so arrogant for? Jing Yu curled her lips in disdain and shouted unhappily, Who's willing to help me? After she shouted, the entire place fell silent. Chapter 3:14. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole place fell silent. Ahem. What do you think of this young master? Fong Zicheng, who had been watching from the sidelines, heard Jing Yu's shout and stood up elegantly. He coughed and looked at Jing Yu with a smile. Jing Yu looked Fong Zicheng up and down. She actually had a look of disdain on her face. Everyone's hearts suddenly stopped. Earlier, so many young ladies had been beating around the bush to get Fong Zicheng to join their camp, but in the end he had completely ignored them. Now that Jing Yu had shouted at him, he had eagerly rushed over, as if he was afraid that Jing Yu would reject him. This made everyone feel dizzy. He's just a so. Jing Yu curled her lips in disdain, as if accepting Fong Zicheng was a shameful thing. Fong Zicheng stood behind Jing Yu with a black face. As the son of a grand scholar, this was the first time in his life that he had been disdained like this. If Miss Jing Yu doesn't mind, how about I join in as well? While everyone was still in a daze from Fong Zicheng, Jing Lang, who was sitting at the side, also slowly stood up and looked at Jing Yu with a gentle gaze. Jing Lang's words frightened everyone. They all thought that they had misheard or that Jing Lang had called her by the wrong name. Wasn't Jing Lang Jing Yan's older brother? Why had he run over to Jing Yu's camp? This wasn't right. Everyone turned to look at Jing Yan. Jing Yan's small face alternated between red and white. Seeing Jing Lang's gentle and considerate manner towards Jing Yu, she almost ground her teeth to pieces. I'm clearly his younger sister, why can't I compare to an outsider? It seems like we're still missing one. Jingyu smiled and looked at Ning Xiangyuan. You also seem to be missing one person, right? What does that have to do with you? Ning Xiangyuan coldly pursed her lips. Jingyu laughed disdainfully. Aren't you just trying to get the 9th emperors? I'm sorry, but I also want the 9th emperors. Ning Xiangyuan's face turned angry as she said, I was the one who invited him first. What right do you have to snatch him from me? Ha! Jingyu looked at Ning Xiangyuan as if she was an idiot and said, Is there something wrong with your brain? He's my man, and you're saying that I'm snatching him from you? Big sister, you should go home and get your brain checked. How dare you try to snatch the title of the most talented woman with such a brain? You're really blind. Jingyu. Ning Xiangyuan, who was the 9th concubine chosen by the 9th emperors, as the 9th emperors, Jing used the 9th emperor's mouth. No one expected. The 9th emperor, the 9th emperor's 9th emperors, the emperors appointed the 9th, the emperors the 9th. People. So what if I scold you? So what if I'm cursing you? Jingyu laughed loudly and said, My mouth is on my body. I can say whatever I want. What can you do about it? Ning Xiangyuan felt dizzy. She was clearly stunned by Jingyu's sudden shrewish words. What about me? Jingyu looked at Ning Xiangyuan with disdain. She turned to look at Crown Prince Xiao Yuling and said, Your Highness, it's getting late. Let's start. What a waste of my saliva. Let's start. Xiao Yuling was stunned. When he heard Jingyu calling him, he suddenly regained his senses. Everyone looked at Ning Xiangyuan strangely. After the words were said, Ning Xiangyuan was scolded to the point that she didn't dare to retort. Chapter 3:15. After he finished speaking, Ning Xiangyuan was scolded to the point that she didn't dare to retort. Royal uncle, shouldn't you come down? Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen, who was still sitting on the high seat, with a fake smile and said in what she thought was a very gentle voice. Xiao Chen held his forehead helplessly. Under everyone's shocked gazes, he walked elegantly towards Jingyu. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Oh my God! When did the 9th emperors become so easy to talk to? Jingyu looked at the 3 people behind her and sighed helplessly. This made Xiao Yuling, who had just stood up to announce the start of the competition, turn his head in surprise. He asked politely, Jingyu, why are you sighing? It's nothing. I just feel like I'm being too much of a bully. Jingyu said quietly. Everyone burst into tears. You still know you're being a bully? Since I'm already being a bully, why do we still need to compete with our strength? Crown Prince, why don't you just announce that I've won? Jingyu raised her head and smiled at Xiao Yuling. Everyone vomited blood. Is this how you compete? Is this how you bully people? You're too pretentious. Haha. Xiao Yuling laughed happily. Jingyu, you're too humorous. I announced the start of the lantern riddles competition. As Xiao Yuling spoke, the maids began to light up the lanterns that had riddles written on them and hang them up high. The teams that were participating in the competition stood on one side. Among the 50 lanterns, the team that answered the most correctly in the shortest time would be the winner. Jingyu looked at the riddles with flowers and flowers drawn on them. She grabbed Xiao Chen and Fang Zicheng and said, I'll leave it all to you guys. Xiao Chen was silent. Fang Zicheng was silent. Jing Lang face-bombed. Jingyu couldn't guess it at all. He was actually so arrogant, vowing to take first place. Don't look at me like that. Jingyu awkwardly touched the tip of her nose and said, Isn't it because I saw that you guys are especially strong? Hurry up and guess. Bring me a pen. Xiao Chen glanced at Jingyu and said. Immediately, Jingyu ran to the side and handed over a pen and paper to Xiao Chen. During this time, Xiao Chen glanced at the 50 riddles indifferently and then walked calmly to the pen and paper. Fang Zicheng, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and guess. Jingyu glared at Fang Zicheng, who was still standing at the side with his arms crossed. It seems that there's no need for me to be of any use? Fang Zicheng touched the tip of his nose and looked at Xiao Chen, who was writing with his head lowered, and said helplessly, "What do you mean?" Jing Yu was slightly stunned. Just as she was about to ask, Xiao Chen put down the pen in his hand and said indifferently, "You can announce the results of the competition." The man in charge looked at the words and sucked in a breath of cold air. Jing Yu widened her eyes and looked at Xiao Chen, who was walking towards her. She pointed at Xiao Chen and said, You finished answering all 50 questions? Xiao Chen nodded calmly. Jing Yu's vision went dark and she almost fainted. Chapter 316. Jingyu. Miss Jingyu wins. The steward held onto the words that Xiao Chen had just written and announced the result with a trembling body. Ning Xiangyuan and the others had just finished answering the 8th question, but Jingyu had already finished. Was there any meaning to this competition? Xiao Chen had single-handedly crushed all of them. Complete domination. I suddenly realized that I really admire you. Jingyu's eyes sparkled as she looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Is he still human? He's practically a god." Xiao Chen's face darkened. Was there anyone who praised someone like that? Did you just look at the lantern riddles once and then memorize them all? Jingyu swallowed her saliva and said, "N." Xiao Chen continued to answer, "Oh, so the man I hooked up with is not only rich and powerful, but also a genius." Jingyu almost laughed out loud in her heart. She looked at Ning Xiangyuan's resentful face and her eyes were full of smiles. She looked at the steward who had brought over the exquisite lantern and walked in a circle in front of Ning Xiangyuan to show off. "You can't even beat me for a lantern and you still want to steal my man?" Jingyu laughed disdainfully. She raised her chin and walked back to her seat with her chest puffed out. She deliberately placed the exquisite lantern on the table so that everyone could see it. Ning Xiangyuan and Jingyu's faces were ashen. They listened to everyone who came forward to congratulate them, but Jingyu kept saying that she was really sorry for stealing the exquisite lantern that Ning Xiangyuan had taken a fancy to. She also said that she was really sorry for stealing Jing Yan's title as the most talented woman. The two of them were so ashamed that they couldn't stay any longer. They found an excuse and hurriedly left the boat. Their hatred for Jingyu was also increasing at a terrifying speed. Jingyu originally wanted to give the two of them a warning so that they wouldn't provoke her again. However, she didn't expect that after this beating, not only did they not receive a warning, but they also felt a sense of resentment. If Jingyu knew that this would cause such a huge commotion, then no matter what, she would destroy their reputations tonight and make them fear her forever. However, Jingyu didn't know. The Lantern Festival thus came to an end. Qin Lu became famous in the Imperial City because of this song and dance. Jingyu became the topic of discussion even more frequently. The love that the 9th emperors had for Jingyu reached another level because of this incident. There was no doubt that the relationship between Jingyu and Ning Xiangyuan had broken up. The two of them were even vaguely hostile towards each other. The incident of Ning Xiangyuan being insulted at the Lantern Festival had become a joke. The actions of Jingyu, this shrew, had instead become a positive comment for people with good temperament. Jingyu was nestled in the prince's residence. When she heard Yin Xiao excitedly talking about what happened outside, she almost rolled off the bed from laughter. These people were also talented. Her actions should have been criticized for not knowing etiquette. She didn't expect that she would be praised as someone with temperament. "Yin Xiao, today is the 18th of the first month, right?" Jingyu raised her head to look at the clear sky outside and asked with a frown. "Yes, Imperial concubine." Yin Xiao followed Jingyu's gaze and looked over. However, she didn't see anything. She blinked her eyes in confusion and replied, "Oh." Jingyu's eyes flashed slightly. She closed her eyes and lay on the soft bed. Today was just like usual. Yin Xiao tidied up the room and waited for Jingyu's return. She didn't need to think to know that Jingyu must have gone to the restaurant. When Xiao Chen returned, he saw that Yin Xiao was busy preparing the meal. He frowned slightly and asked, "Where is Imperial concubine?" Chapter 317. When Xiao Chen returned, he saw that Yin Xiao was busy preparing food. He frowned slightly and asked, "Where is the imperial concubine?" Greetings to the 9th emperors. Yin Xiao bowed and said, "The imperial concubine has yet to return." Xiao Qun frowned unhappily but didn't think too much about it. "Master." At this time, Xing Er hurried back and bowed slightly to Xiao Qun. He looked around and asked in confusion, "The imperial concubine hasn't returned?" "Isn't the imperial concubine with you?" "You're back. Where is the imperial concubine?" Yin Xiao blinked slightly and asked Xing Er. Xiao Qun stood at the side and listened to the two's conversation. His expression changed slightly. Xing Er's expression also became slightly ugly. Xiao Qun waved his hand and sat down. He looked coldly at Xing Er and asked, "Tell me everything that the imperial concubine did today." Xing Er's face was slightly pale as he said, "Today, the imperial concubine went to the Qin Tower to see the prophets as usual. Then, she went to the construction site of the residence to observe. Finally, she went to the restaurant to eat lunch. After that, she didn't come out and stayed in the restaurant the entire time." "Didn't come out?" Xiao Chen's eyes narrowed coldly. When it was close to noon, the imperial concubine ordered a few plates of desserts into the elegant room. Then, she sent this subordinate to Jinyan Tower to buy a few boxes of desserts. She said that she wanted to bring them back to the Wang Fu to eat. However, when this subordinate returned to the tower, I was told that the imperial concubine had already returned. Thus, this subordinate hurried back. "Damn it." Xiao Chen's expression was severe. He said coldly, "Go investigate. Where did the imperial concubine's carriage go?" Xing Er's entire body trembled and he quickly ran outside. Xiao Chen sat in the same spot. His expression was dark and uncertain. After a round of investigation, there were no results. Jing Yu had disappeared without a trace. Xiao Chen was furious. The entire Wang Fu was in chaos. The imperial concubine had disappeared. This news was earth-shattering. The men of Xiao Chen's Wang Fu almost flattened the entire imperial city, but they didn't find anything. This matter couldn't be known to outsiders. Xiao Chen said to the outside world that they were catching a thief, but Jing Zhan still felt that something was strange, and sent people to ask and found that Jing Yu had disappeared. She had disappeared without a trace from the Wang Fu's men in the evening. Then, the General's Fu's men. The three parties searched wantonly. They shouted that they were catching a thief, but people with discerning eyes knew that this wasn't as simple as catching a thief. The people in the imperial palace were also unwilling to be left out. They all secretly investigated who had caused the three parties to make such a big fuss. In an instant, a storm was brewing in the imperial city. Xiao Jingran naturally would not stand by and watch. What had originally been a search for a thief in the imperial city had inexplicably turned into a fight between factions. The main character of this matter, Jing Yu, didn't know anything about this at this moment, because she was on a barren mountain outside the city. The whistle sounded and two gray wolves darted out. Jing Yu's face was faintly pale. The sky darkened. Jing Yu turned her head to look in the direction of the imperial city. Then, she turned and ran into the dense forest. Jing Yu's footsteps staggered. The two gray wolves behind her were filled with worry. After running for a long time, Jing Yu collapsed beside a pool. There was clearly no injury on her body, but Jing Yu seemed to be in great pain. Chapter 318. Not again. Jing Yu's face was deathly pale as she curled up on the grassy ground. Jing Yu's eyes were unfocused and she couldn't even speak clearly. The two gray wolves darted far away, each guarding a different direction. Their green eyes shone with the light of a wild beast under the dark sky. At this moment, Jing Yu didn't have the energy to think about anything else. The fiery heat in her body was rolling like magma that was about to explode. Her blood turned into magma and flowed from her heart to every corner of her body through her blood vessels. So hot! Jing Yu roared and rolled around as if her entire body was on fire. She wanted to roll around to put out the fire, but it was to no avail. Roar! Jing Yu's entire body tensed up and the veins on her tightly clenched fists bulged like balloons. She roared into the sky at the time when the sky was at its darkest. Her deep roar was like a shockwave that spread throughout the dense forest. Jingyu's pitch-black eyes instantly turned dark green. The dark green color became darker and darker. The two gray wolves, Silver Arrow and Silver Wind, who were guarding Jingyu, whimpered and cowered when they heard her roar. They retreated bit by bit and lowered their heads, their eyes filled with fear. Jingyu groaned in pain. Her eyes were burning like flames. Jingyu thought she was going blind. That burning sensation was beyond Jingyu's tolerance. She wanted to close her eyes, but she couldn't. Her dark green eyes were especially dazzling in the dark night. As the green light in her left eye grew brighter, the green light in her right eye dimmed. In the depths of her eyes, she could vaguely see a golden light flickering. It was like a flame, but also like a gold luster that was expanding bit by bit within the green light. Jingyu pulled out her chest with all her might. In her chest, something seemed to be bursting out. The golden light flickered. Jingyu wanted to stop it, but she couldn't. She curled up on the ground and the boiling heat in her body almost swallowed up her consciousness. In her blurry state, she seemed to see the rippling water surface. Without thinking, Jingyu rolled on the ground and fell into the lake with a splash. It was a small pool, but it was very deep. Jingyu struggled in the water, hoping that the burning sensation would lower her body temperature. The moment she entered, it did have some effect. It allowed Jingyu's consciousness to recover a little. But moments later, she didn't know if it was an illusion, but she seemed to feel that the pool water was boiling. Jingyu lowered her head and looked at herself in the lake. In the ripples of the water, the pair of green and gold eyes alternated between dim and gorgeous. Ah! Just as Jingyu was in a daze, a strange force suddenly rushed into Jingyu's brain from her chest. A piercing pain that she had never felt before spread out. Jingyu let out a miserable howl. Her green and golden eyes were unprecedentedly brilliant at this moment. That dazzling light seemed to cover everything. Jingyu's mind went blank. Her body swayed and fell into the pool without any strength. Her petite body sank into the water. Her green and golden eyes reflected a strange color in the ripples of the water. Her green eyes were as cold as a wolf's, and her golden eyes were as wild and passionate as a lion's. Chapter 319. The green was as cold and aloof as a wolf, and the gold was as wild and passionate as a lion. The last thing Jingyu saw was this green and gold color. Then her consciousness sank into darkness. Her eyes slowly closed, and the entire world sank into darkness. It was as if Jingyu had died. She sank to the bottom of the lake bit by bit, and there was no more movement. The surroundings were silent. There was no sound other than the sound of the wind. There were no sounds of insects or beasts. It was as if the night had sunk into a strange silence. The poisonous snake that was hunting the rats stopped moving. It curled up its body and lowered its head, as if it was kowtowing in a certain direction. In a place no one was paying attention to, the chickens, ducks, and dogs all hid in the dark, as if they had sensed something terrifying. They didn't dare to move. The fish in the lake also hid in the crevices of the rocks. No one knew why this strange phenomenon happened. No one paid attention to it. Only the cook in the kitchen noticed. He looked at the stiff fish in his hands strangely. When he placed it on the chopping board, it didn't resist at all. He couldn't help but cry out in surprise. The breeders who were looking after the chickens and ducks also cried out in surprise when they saw the quiet chickens and ducks in the chicken coop. The vicious dogs no longer bit people. The horses all knelt down and lowered their heads as if they were performing some kind of ceremony. No matter how hard the coachman tried to pull them, they wouldn't budge. This series of strange actions made everyone cry out in surprise. This night was destined to not be peaceful. Jingyu didn't know how long she slept. Everything in her world turned into nothingness. For a moment, it was as if she had become a soul floating in the outside world. It made her panic and lonely. After a night, the first ray of sunlight jumped out of the ground and shone on the surface of the lake. The dazzling sunlight was like a sudden color in the darkness. It shone directly into the bottom of the lake and landed on Jingyu's cheeks. Jingyu's tightly closed eyes suddenly trembled. Her nose, which didn't seem to be breathing, blew out bubbles. Gulp. Jing Yu's eyes suddenly opened. Her green and golden eyes flickered. Jing Yu opened her mouth and swam towards the surface of the lake using both her hands and feet. Cough, cough, cough. I'm suffocating. Jing Yu coughed violently as she took in large mouthfuls of fresh air. She swam her body and crawled towards the shore. Cough, cough. Jing Yu shivered violently. It's so cold. Beside the pond, Jing Yu panted slightly. She lay on the shore and looked at the water surface. The reflection of the figure on the surface of the water was the same as before, but the green and gold eyes were so demonic. It's over, it's over. Jing Yu looked at her reflection in the lake and touched her green and gold eyes. She wanted to cry but had no tears. What the hell is going on? This thing even changed color. Did it level up? Awoo! Just as Jing Yu was studying her eyes, the two gray wolves, Silver Arrow and Silver Wind, who had been guarding Jing Yu for the whole night, saw Jing Yu appear and immediately ran over happily. Ayaya! You guys are still here? Jing Yu smiled and looked at Yin Jian and Yin Feng. Their green and gold eyes quietly hid at this moment and turned black, no longer showing any abnormality. Awoo! The two gray wolves, Silver Arrow and Silver Wind, intimately rubbed against Jing Yu's body, as if they were welcoming Jing Yu back. It's the 15th time. Jing Yu hugged the two gray wolves' heads and sighed helplessly. 15 years, once a year. What are these eyes trying to do? Chapter 320. Jing Yu's eyes were filled with confusion. Ever since she was born in this world, she didn't know that her body was different. However, her eyes were the most special part of Jing Yu's body. Every year, from the 18th to the 20th of the first month, Jing Yu's eyes would feel a burning pain and her entire body would feel as if it was on fire. At first, her eyes were a faint green. As time passed, the green color of her eyes became darker and darker. Last night, when Jing Yu suffered the greatest pain, one of her green eyes turned green and the other gold. Jing Yu was very frightened at the beginning. She thought that she was some kind of monster. However, after so many years, Jing Yu knew that she wasn't a monster. She was a real person. However, why did she have a pair of different eyes? Jing Yu really didn't know. This won't do. I have to go back and investigate. Jing Yu stood up and looked at the rising sun. Her eyes were filled with complex emotions. Originally, she didn't care about this when she was in the forest. However, it was different now. She was in the Imperial City. If she was really caught because of her eyes and treated as some kind of evil cult monster, Jing Yu would really cry to death. The most important thing was, Jing Yu hadn't figured out the reason for her eyes in the past 15 years. It was even more uncontrollable. The only time she knew that her eyes would change was from the 18th to the 20th of the first month. She also knew that they would appear when she was enraged or had a strong desire to kill. However, sometimes they wouldn't appear. This made Jing Yu feel very troubled. AI, what's going on? Jing Yu glared fiercely at the heavens. If you want me to transmigrate, then so be it. Why do you have to create such an unconventional situation? Different eyes. Different eyes, and they were fucking dual-colored. Jing Yu walked down the mountain with hidden bitterness. She didn't return for the entire night. She didn't know if Xiaochen found out. Jing Yu felt that she was crazy. How could Xiaochen not find out? She broke off. What should she say later? Imperial concubine. Just when Jing Yu was halfway up the mountain with Yin Jian and Yin Feng, she suddenly heard a familiar cry of surprise. Jing Yu immediately stopped in her tracks and looked up. A large group of people were rushing out from the foot of the mountain. When they saw Jing Yu, their eyes lit up. Xing'er? Jing Yu looked at the people at the foot of the mountain and was slightly startled. Jing Yu. Before Jing Yu could react, she saw a black shadow coming towards her. Aya! Jing Yu shrieked in surprise as she was pulled into a familiar embrace. The hand holding Jing Yu's waist was so tight that Jing Yu swallowed her saliva. Xiaochen. Jing Yu tried to struggle, but Xiaochen hugged her even tighter. If you don't let go, I'll suffocate to death. Jing Yu's face flushed red. How could her small body withstand Xiaochen's strength? Xiao Chen slowly let go of his hand. His haggard and dark face stared at Jingyu. That pair of dark eyes made Jingyu's hair stand on end. She lowered her head guiltily. Why didn't you tell me? Xiao Chen looked indifferently at the two gray wolves behind Jingyu. If he hadn't thought for a long time, he wouldn't have thought that Jingyu would come out of the city. I forgot. Jingyu lowered her head and softly replied. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and stared at Jingyu. Come with me. Chapter 321. Oh. Jingyu stuck out her tongue and silently followed Xiao Chen down the mountain. Seeing Jingyu return, everyone let out a sigh of relief. After an entire night of searching, they finally found the imperial concubine. It was great that they didn't have to endure the pressure of the Ninth Emperors. The Ninth Emperor's men quickly retreated from various places. It wasn't until everyone had left that the imperial city gradually returned to its usual liveliness. Jingyu was found. At the same time, the general's manor and the prime minister's manor also received this news. In an instant, the tense atmosphere in the imperial city vanished like smoke in thin air. Those who were secretly investigating were all confused, not knowing what the three parties were looking for. Just as Jingyu was thinking, there was finally movement in the imperial palace. Emperor Xiaoyi announced to the world that he was holding a selection ceremony for the harem. In an instant, everyone was excited. Women from all over the world were transported into the imperial city to participate in the selection. These women had already been selected in other cities. This time, they were entering the imperial palace as the final test to meet the emperor. Entering the imperial palace and staying in Chuxiu Palace, if the emperor took a fancy to them, they would really become phoenixes. This Xiao Ye's luck is really not ordinary. Jingyu clicked her tongue and said, the harem of 3,000 beauties is indeed not empty words. Look at the women entering the capital. Which one of them isn't a heavenly beauty? You went to see? Xiao Chen was originally reading a book. When he saw Jingyu's face flushed red with excitement, he frowned slightly and asked, Didn't I go to the restaurant today? I just happened to see those harem girls entering the imperial palace through the window. Then I saw them. Jingyu smiled as she moved closer to Xiao Chen and said, With so many beautiful women entering the imperial palace, do you think your imperial brother can handle it? Xiao Chen's face darkened. He stared at Jingyu and said, Is this something you need to worry about? I was just asking. Jingyu coughed and lowered her head. Xiao Chen glared at Jingyu and continued to look at the book as he said, I went to the palace today to ask for an imperial edict from His Majesty. Imperial edict? What imperial edict? Jingyu was slightly taken aback and asked in confusion. You'll know after a while. The corners of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up slightly, but he did not answer. His mysterious look directly aroused Jingyu's curiosity. She was full of doubts. She stared at Xiao Chen and kept asking. However, if Xiao Chen did not want to say, how could Jingyu ask? You still haven't told me why you left Xing Air behind and went to the mountains outside the city to look for Silver Arrow and Silver Wind. Xiao Chen's words instantly blocked all of Jingyu's curiosity. It also blocked Jingyu's mouth. I was just bored. Jingyu scolded herself in her heart. Why did she ask for no reason? Is that so? Xiao Chen's cold eyes swept over and Jingyu instantly felt that she was half a head shorter. I just wanted to see if Interrogation Officer 2 could find me. I really don't have any other intentions. Jingyu gulped and happened to see Yin Xiao, who was about to enter the house. She instantly flipped over and got up, shouting, Yin Xiao, are you preparing dinner? Come, let me help you. Imperial concubine, there's no need, this servant, no need to be polite. Let's go to the kitchen and take a look. Chapter 322. Jingyu hurriedly dragged Yin Xiao away, and at the same time, slipped away. For the past few days, whenever Xiao Chen used that kind of scrutinizing gaze to look at her, Jingyu would feel goosebumps all over her body. She did not dare to stay any longer. The selection was a grand event. Girls without any background would follow the eunuchs to wait on the left side of the palace gates, while the children of officials with backgrounds would be on the right side. Both groups were waiting outside the palace gates. They wore white veils and bamboo hats to cover their faces. In the group on the right side, a young girl slowly turned her head to look behind her. She lifted her veil and revealed her face. That delicate and gentle face belonged to none other than Ning Xiangyuan. Once she entered the palace gates, she finally stepped onto this path. Jingyu, you forced me into such a bitter situation. Ning Xiangyuan's eyes flashed with hatred, grief, and viciousness. In the end, she lowered the veil on her face sadly. The eunuch's shout sounded, and Ning Xiangyuan walked towards the palace gates with trembling steps. She should not have had such a fate. But she was forced onto this path. All of this was because of Jingyu. Ning Xiangyuan's eyes were filled with hatred, and tears fell from her red eyes. In her last struggle, she put down all her dignity and pride to beg Xiao Chen, but she did not even get to see Xiao Chen's face. She was rejected and cursed at outside the door. Why can you be treated gently by the 9 emperors, but I can't? I can't accept this. How can I not compare to you? Family background, appearance, I'm better than you in every aspect. My talents are even better than yours. Ning Xiangyuan clenched her fists tightly, and the resentment in her heart could not dissipate. Since you forced me like this, how can I let you be at ease? The palace is full of intrigue, and I may not be willing to give in. Since I've entered, I'll climb up. Jingyu, one day, I'll make you regret your actions. The two groups majestically walked through the gates of the imperial palace. The majestic vermilion gates also slowly closed after everyone had entered, putting an end to all the gazes from the outside world. It also cut off their chances of leaving the imperial palace. From now on, they were the people of the imperial palace. Perhaps they would gain the emperor's favor and live a life of luxury. Perhaps they would be plotted against by their sisters and die in the palace. Perhaps they would never be able to see the emperor and die of old age in the palace. However, they would never have the slightest chance to step out of the palace. In this life, they would be the people of the palace, the emperor's people. Jingyu didn't seem to have anything to do with Ning Xiangyuan. It was only after Shangguan Linglan and Lu Miaoqiu told her that Jingyu knew that Ning Xiangyuan had really entered the palace. However, since they had already severed their relationship, Jingyu didn't take it to heart. The construction of the residence was in full swing. On the other side, Xin Yuqing and Lu Man came with good news. Jingyu had ingeniously changed everyone's clothes. The young ladies and madams asked where the clothes were made more and more frequently. Jingyu knew that now was the time to continue developing. She immediately ran to the shop on the street to negotiate with the shop owner. This Anai Chang Court wasn't a famous tailor shop. The first time Jingyu found this shop, she had accidentally entered. The clothes she made were naturally the clothes worn by the waitresses in the restaurant. In order to prevent the shop owner from leaking the secret, she had deliberately used the name of the 9 emperors to pressure him. Therefore, this time, Jingyu came to negotiate with him again without any pressure. Jingyu's original intention was to cooperate with the shop owner. Who would have thought that the shop owner would directly invite Jingyu to become a shareholder without any hesitation and would be willing to work under Jingyu? Chapter 323. Without hesitation, the boss invited Jingyu to invest and be the host, while he was willing to work under Jingyu. Jingyu was surprised. After asking for a long time, she found out that the boss had dealings with Xin Yuqing. Knowing that Xin Yuqing had tasted the benefits of working under Jingyu, how could she not agree? As long as she could earn money, anything was negotiable. After discussing for an entire morning, Jingyu didn't plan on renovating the tailor shop. Since it was a clothes maker, she only needed to modify the layout a little. Jingyu casually drew a sketch and explained it to the boss, Tang Hongyang, a few times. He understood and nodded repeatedly. That's the general idea. Jingyu raised her hand and took a big gulp of water. After talking for an entire morning, she was almost out of saliva. Yes, I understand. Tang Hongyang's eyes lit up as he cheered in his heart. Why didn't he think of making such a beautiful display stand before this? Modify the shop first. You have all the designs. If possible, make 10 or 20 pieces and see how they turn out. Jingyu rubbed her chin and thought for a moment before saying, I have 2 ways to earn money. One is to earn slowly, and the other is to earn enough in one go. Which one do you think is better? Jingyu turned to Tang Hongyang and asked. Tang Hongyang's eyes were filled with confusion. He looked at Jingyu and asked, What are the 2 ways? Earn slowly. Of course, you'll have to make a small number of clothes first and see how they turn out. If you want to earn enough in one go, then you'll have to use other methods. Jingyu grinned and said calmly, For example, you can invite the girls from Qinlu to hold a publicity event and let them wear your clothes to show off to others. That way, you can attract attention. Boss can invite the girls from Qinlu? Tang Hongyang's eyes lit up. Of course. Jingyu nodded. Tang Hongyang replied, Since we're going to earn money, of course we have to earn a lot. Boss, please work hard. If you want to make a lot of money, you can't be careless. Jingyu rubbed her chin and said, Close the shop for the next few days. Make 3 or 4 of these designs, and I'll give you the rest in 3 days. We'll discuss the specific plans then. First, clean up the shop. Yes, I understand. Tang Hongyang nodded. When Jingyu came out of the store, she was so hungry that her chest was sticking to her back. After returning to the prince's residence, she ate a big meal and was finally satisfied. When she walked into her room, she saw a bright yellow object on the table. Her heart was filled with curiosity as she walked over and picked it up to take a look. What is this, an imperial edict? Jingyu opened the imperial edict in her hand with a puzzled expression. When Jingyu saw the contents of the imperial edict, her expression changed unpredictably. Her eyes widened, and she slammed her hand on the table and shouted angrily, Xiao Chen, you bastard! Ah! Jingyu rushed to Xiao Chen's study. Yin Xiao watched in shock as Jingyu rushed out. Xing Yi, who was standing guard outside the study, didn't even have the chance to ask what was going on. He saw Jingyu kick open the door to Xiao Chen's study. Xiao Chen! Get out here! Jingyu was on the verge of exploding with rage. Xiao Chen's hand, which was writing, trembled and the ink stained the paper black. Xiao Chen frowned as he watched Jingyu walk in angrily. His eyes were filled with displeasure. Chapter 324. Explain to me what's going on with this thing. Jingyu raised her hand and slammed the imperial edict on Xiao Chen's desk. Her eyes were filled with anger as she said, How did I become the 9th imperial concubine? How did I get married at the end of the year? Xiao Chen, you better explain this to me. What's there to explain? Xiao Chen calmly glanced at the imperial edict, then looked up at Jingyu and said, It's just an imperial edict. Jingyu was going crazy. She stared at Xiao Chen and said loudly, Just an imperial edict? You sold me off so cheaply? Get married at the end of the year. Lord Jiu, I'm only 15. Go tell the emperor. I won't marry him. Xiao Chen was silent for a moment, then said calmly, It's too late. The imperial edict has already been announced to the world. Fuck. What? Jingyu was so shocked that she jumped up. She stared at Xiao Chen and said, You mean, there's no turning back? Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and said, Disobeying an imperial edict will result in 9 familial exterminations. Thump. Jingyu fell to the ground with a defeated expression. Her face was covered in tears. Xiao Chen, you bastard! I'll kill you! Jingyu grabbed Xiao Chen fiercely and pushed Xiao Chen against the chair. Her small hands were around Xiao Chen's neck, and she looked like she wanted to perish together with him. This was the scene that Xing Yi saw when he rushed in. Xiao Chen's cold gaze swept over. Xing Yi awkwardly retreated and closed the door behind him. She'll be mine sooner or later. Isn't it just another imperial edict? Xiao Chen casually tied Jingyu's hands, clasped Jingyu's waist, and forced Jingyu to straddle him. Get lost. Jingyu cursed. She didn't dare to say what she wanted to say. There was no imperial edict, but it was just a verbal order. If Jingyu wanted to leave, she could do so at any time. There were no restrictions, right? Now, She was directly labeled as the 9th imperial concubine by an imperial edict. This was already set in stone. If Jingyu ran away, she would be running away from the marriage. Xiao Chun could use this relationship to catch her. Most importantly, was there something wrong with Xiao Ye's brain? They were actually getting married at the end of this year. She was only 15 years old. Jingyu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Although there were many people who got married at the age of 15 in this ancient era, Jingyu was still a modern soul. 15 was still an age where she didn't know anything, okay? She was getting married at such a young age? No. Jingyu couldn't accept it no matter what. Don't you want to be my 9th imperial concubine? Xiao Chun narrowed his eyes dangerously. I don't want to. Jingyu was thinking too much and didn't pay attention to Xiao Chen's question. She blurted out this sentence without thinking. Immediately, Xiao Chen's face darkened and the surrounding temperature dropped sharply. Jingyu reacted and almost slapped herself. I don't want to get married so early. Jingyu hurriedly grabbed Xiao Chen's hand and carefully explained, we haven't known each other for long. I haven't gotten to know you well. Marry me, and I'll give you a lifetime to get to know me. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu's small hand grabbing his big hand and his expression softened slightly as he spoke. How can that be? Furthermore, I haven't even acknowledged my ancestors. How can I marry you just like that? Jingyu rolled her eyes and spoke again. Chapter 325. How can I do that? I haven't even acknowledged my ancestors yet. How can I marry you just like that? Ichim? Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu in surprise and said, You've thought it through. Cough, cough, cough. Jingyu coughed a few times and said, You're the 9th emperors. As the 9th imperial concubine, I have to have the right to marry you, right? So I've decided. I want to return to the Prime Minister's residence as the eldest miss. Xiao Chen smiled and said, If I marry you, I'll be able to shut some people up. I'll handle this matter. Wait. Jingyu hurriedly said, I want to acknowledge my ancestors. Why are you interfering? Don't interfere. Xiao Chen frowned unhappily. Xiao Chen, I want to walk into the Prime Minister's residence with my head held high. I don't need your help. Jingyu looked seriously at Xiao Chen and said, Not only do I want to return to the Prime Minister's residence, I also want to control it. Only then can I marry you properly. Xiao Chen's brows relaxed slightly. He looked at Jingyu and asked, How long? Jingyu naturally knew what Xiao Chen meant. She pondered for a moment and said, 2 years. That's too long. Xiao Chen frowned and refused without even thinking about it. He definitely couldn't wait another 2 years. 1.5 years. Jingyu gritted her teeth and reduced it by half a year. 1 year. Xiao Chen's frown didn't loosen. 1.5 years. If you keep talking, I won't marry you. Jingyu didn't back down and threatened. Xiao Chen's face instantly darkened. Jingyu's body shook violently. She resisted Xiao Chen's huge pressure and refused to back down. The two of them looked at each other. Finally, Xiao Chen relented. After your coming-of-age ceremony next year, we'll be married. After Xiao Chen said this, Jingyu silently wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. She had finally gained some time. I know. Jingyu nodded. She would just leave it at that for now and see how things go. What do you plan to do? Xiao Chen adjusted himself into a more comfortable position and hugged Jingyu's petite body as he asked. I have my own plans. Just wait and see. Jingyu mischievously blinked her eyes and said, But before that, I have to get Xing Heir to send an invitation to old Master Jing and invite him to rich restaurant. You finally plan to meet him? Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu with interest. Don't gloat. Jingyu glared at Xiao Chen and muttered, I haven't thought of what to say when I meet him. Jingyu nestled in Xiao Chen's arms and thought over and over again about how they should talk if they were to meet. What should she call him? Father? But this was ancient times. Call him father? It was too awkward. Jingyu was really conflicted. She had lived 2 lives and had never called anyone father or mother. She really couldn't bring herself to do it. After pondering for a while, Jingyu decided to just lie down on the bed. I don't care anymore. I'll just improvise when the time comes. Although that was what she thought, Jingyu still felt uneasy and conflicted for a long time before falling asleep. Xiaochun stood at the side and watched Jingyu's actions with a slight smile in his eyes. He could clearly see that Jingyu actually didn't blame Jingzhan anymore. She just felt a little awkward. She believed in these feelings and would naturally get used to it after some time. Jingzhan never dreamed that he would actually receive an invitation from Jingyu. Chapter 326. Jingzhan would never have dreamed that he would receive an invitation from Jingyu. Alang looked. It's Yueris' invitation. She wants to see me. Jingzhan's resolute face was filled with excitement and joy. He held the invitation in his hand. His eyes were red and his hands were trembling. He was so happy that he wanted to stand up but could only move his waist. What? Really? Jing Lang darted to Jingzhan's side and took the invitation from Jingzhan's hand. He looked at the clean signature. The two words, Jingyu, were so dazzling. That's great. She's finally willing to see me. That's great. Jingzhan had been expressionless for more than 10 years. At this moment, he had only received an invitation from Jingyu, but he was already so excited. 15 years. I've waited for 15 years. Jingzhan clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were slightly moist. He seemed to be sighing but also relieved. Father. Jing Lang's nose turned sour. He knelt on one knee beside Jingzhan and covered Jingzhan's clenched fist with his hand. His eyes were filled with complex emotions. I owe her these 15 years. Regardless of the cause and effect, I owe her. Jingzhan lowered his head. His voice trembled as he said, she should blame me. She should. After so many years, Jingzhan had never forgotten his child. He had tried everything but couldn't find that child. Originally, he just wanted to watch Jingyu from afar. He wanted to see her future and secretly protect her. But how could he not wish for Jingyu to acknowledge him as her father? Now that Jingyu had come to him, Jingzhan's heart, which had been calm for 15 years, was stirred up again. After a sleepless night, Jingzhan sat on a chair in his room and looked at the painting hanging on the wall. His eyes were filled with longing and love, and his entire body was filled with sorrow that could not be dispersed. Ayun, our child is grown up, have you seen it? I've seen him. He looks like you, but not like you at the same time. Jingzhan stared at the painting for the entire night in silence. It wasn't until dawn that he finally moved. His body was sore. Even though he hadn't slept the entire night, Jingzhan's face didn't show any signs of fatigue. Instead, it was filled with excitement. With a faint blush on her cheeks, she called Uncle Lu over early in the morning. First Master, what do you think of this set of clothes? Uncle Lu patiently picked out the clothes for Jingzhan. No, it's too flowery. If he sees it, she might think I was a playboy back then. Jingzhan shook his head. Jing Lang, who was standing behind Jingzhan, twitched his mouth when he heard that. He didn't say much. What about this one? Uncle Lu continued to take out the clothes. So red? What kind of person is this? Jingzhan continued to shake his head. Jing Lang silently glanced at the dark red clothes that were almost black. The corner of his mouth twitched again. Or was it red? Which part is red? If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to tell the red color. Then this one. Uncle Lu's expression changed as he took out another one. It's either red or black. Jingzhan continued to shake his head. I say, Father, isn't it just a meal? Do you have to be so picky? Jing Lang finally couldn't take it anymore. How long would it take if he continued to pick? I have to leave a good impression on you. Take out all the clothes and choose properly. Jingzhan didn't care. With a wave of his hand, he dug out the bottom of the box. He carefully looked through the clothes one by one. From time to time, he would ask Jing Lang how it was. If he said it was good, he would pick out a bunch of problems. If he said it wasn't good, then it definitely wasn't good. Chapter 327. Finally, when Jing Lang couldn't take it anymore, he loudly said that he was late to Jingyu and left. This scared Jingzhan to death. He casually put on some clothes and hurriedly urged Jingzhan to leave. It was only an hour's walk, but Jingzhan urged him to finish in 45 minutes. At the door of the private room, Jingzhan nervously stopped his wheelchair. He looked at Jinglang and said, "Look at me. Am I okay?" Hurry up and go in." Jinglang sighed helplessly and opened the door to the private room. Jingyu was dozing off. She didn't sleep well last night. On the other hand, that pig Xiaochen slept all the way until dawn. This made Jingyu extremely depressed. She came to the private room early in the morning and was sleeping soundly on the table. She didn't notice the person who walked in at all. Shoo! Jingzhan hurriedly pulled back Jinglang, who was about to wake Jingyu up. He gave Uncle Lu a look and carefully approached Jingyu. That petite body was sleeping soundly on the table. Every breath she took was rhythmic. Jingzhan's eyes were filled with love. He stared at Jingyu for a long time. Jinglang took a cloak from the side and wanted to cover Jingyu with it, but Jingzhan snatched it away. He carefully pushed the wheelchair and moved it with difficulty. He put the cloak on Jingyu. His movements were gentle and careful, as if he was afraid of waking Jingyu up. Fortunately, with his efforts, Jingyu didn't wake up and slept exceptionally well. Jingzhan slowly let out a sigh of relief. With Jingyu's vigilance, how could she not wake up? From the moment Jinglang stepped into the room, Jingyu had already woken up. She originally wanted to open her eyes, but when she felt Jinglang stop and heard a slight sound, Jingyu knew that Jingzhan was holding back Jinglang to prevent him from waking her up. After a while, Jingyu smelled an extremely unfamiliar yet intimate scent approaching her. It seemed that the person put a cloak on her with great difficulty. That careful feeling and the hand that touched her body made Jingyu's heart feel warm for some reason. It was so warm that she wanted to cry. After suppressing the tumbling emotions in her heart for a long time, Jingyu opened her eyes in a daze as if she had just woken up. "You're here." Jingyu narrowed her eyes and casually stretched. She looked at Jingzhan and Jinglang, who were sitting across from her, and said with a somewhat reserved smile, "Sorry, I fell asleep. Why didn't you wake me up?" When Jingyu finished speaking, Jinglang and Jingzhan didn't say anything. Jingzhan didn't dare to reply, but Jinglang thought that since his father was here, it wasn't his place to speak. The two were silent for a while. Jinglang looked at his father in confusion, and only then did Jingzhan speak. It's fine. If you're tired, we can talk another day." Jingzhan clenched his fist slightly and said, "Since you're here, there's no need to change the day." Jingyu smiled and said, "It's actually not a big deal. I just wanted to tell you that I want to go back to the Prime Minister's residence." Ah! The father and son looked at Jingyu in shock, their eyes full of surprise. "What? Can't I?" Jingyu blinked and asked in confusion. Jingzhan couldn't hide the surprise on his face. He looked at Jingyu and asked carefully, "Have you thought it through?" Chapter 328. Yuer, have you thought it through? Dash I have. Jingyu nodded with certainty. Jingzhan and Jinglang looked at each other, their eyes filled with joy. Jingyu raised her hand to take off the jade bead hanging around her neck. The jade bead still had the warmth of Jingyu's body on it. I've been wearing it since I was born." The moment Jingyu took out the jade bead, Jingzhan and Jinglang's eyes lit up with joy. "Lang, take out your jade pendant." Jingzhan took the jade bead from Jingyu's hand. Jinglang took off the jade pendant from his waist. Jingyu looked over and realized that the jade bead was actually a bead that had been missing from Jinglang's jade pendant. It could actually be inserted. This is the one I had someone make 15 years ago. Jade for the boy, pearl for the girl. At the time, your mother even laughed at me, saying that I gave you this thing because I was afraid of losing the child. I didn't think. Jingzhan's words were choked with emotion. "Child, it's been hard on you all these years. I've let you down." Jingzhan raised his hand to wipe his eyes. He looked at Jingyu with sincerity, making Jingyu's nose sour. She suddenly had the urge to cry. That urge was very strong, like the feeling of being connected by blood. It was an irresistible feeling. None of this is important. I just want to know why. Jingyu took a deep breath, looked at Jingzhan, and said, Xiaochen investigated what happened back then. I know a little, but I don't know the full story. I called you here today to ask why you abandoned me back then. If I wasn't forced into a corner, why would I abandon my child? Hearing this, Jingzhan's eyes were filled with pain and violence. His hands clutched the clothes on his thighs so hard that they wrinkled. All of this started because of your eyes. Jingzhan was silent for a long time before he finally raised his head to look at Jingyu. Jingyu's heart sank when she heard this. Did you know that you were born with a pair of abnormal pupils? Jingzhan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. With a bitter expression, he said, Your mother gave birth to you after 10 months of pregnancy. You were born on a rainy night. It was originally a joyous occasion for the Prime Minister's manor, but because of your abnormal pupils, it became a disaster. Eyes of the world extermination. Hundreds of years ago, strange eyes were considered the source of all disasters. Your eyes will bring disaster to the Jing clan. The Jing clan's grandmother said that if you live, the Jing clan will be destroyed. The only way to stop the disaster is to kill the eyes of the world extermination before they grow up, said Lin Feng. Therefore, when you were born, the leader of the Jing clan, your grandfather, Jing Tinghe, wanted to kill you in order to protect the clan from decline. Jingzhan's body trembled as he clenched his fists and said, You are my daughter. How can I allow such a thing to happen? So I escaped. I took my wife, who had just given birth, and took you out of the Prime Minister's manor in the middle of the night. I didn't even have time to tell Alang. We ran all the way to the Roman forest. Jingzhan smiled bitterly and said indifferently, I miscalculated. Father is ruthless. I thought that because you are his granddaughter, he wouldn't force our family into a dead end, but I was wrong. Jingzhan held his head in pain and said with a trembling voice, In order to lure away the pursuers, I separated from your mother. It was this separation that led to the beginning of the disaster. Not long after I separated, I was caught. Then I heard that your mother's body was found. It was found under the cliff. Chapter 329. When I first heard the news, I was so heartbroken that I almost killed myself with my sword. However, when I found out that I couldn't find your corpse, I guessed that a Yun must have hidden you somewhere else. Just as I was about to find you, When Jingzhan said this, his lips trembled and he couldn't finish his sentence. His legs were broken by his own father, Jingyu said indifferently. Jinglang and Jingzhan both looked over. What a father! What a grandfather! Jingyu's breathing was heavy and her eyes were full of anger. Everything was clear now. At this moment, Jingyu had never felt so angry before. Just because of a pair of eyes, just because of this bullshit eye of extermination, my mother was forced to her death, my father's legs were broken, and I almost lost my life in a wolf's den. Good. That's great. Jingzhan and Jinglang's expressions also changed. Jing family. Jingyu clenched her fists tightly. Anger that she had never felt before welled up in her heart. She seemed to have seen a mother commit suicide by jumping off a cliff in order to protect her child. She seemed to have seen a father whose legs were cruelly broken in order to find his child. In these 15 years, father never gave up looking for you. Jinglang looked at Jingyu and said, In these years, I used my connections in the army to find out some things that I didn't know before. The people who tried to kill father and mother were not only Jing Tinghe's people, but Jing Zhang's people also interfered. It was also because of this that father returned to the Prime Minister's residence in such a delicate situation. I didn't expect that I would receive news of you when I guessed that he had this intention. When Jinglang finished speaking, he looked at Jingyu with a complicated gaze. His eyes were full of hope and helplessness. Jingjing, I will never let them off. Jingyu said angrily in a low voice. She looked up at Jingzhan and Jinglang and said, I want to return to the Prime Minister's residence. I want to return openly. All right. Jingzhan and Jinglang's faces lit up. Jingyu hesitantly looked at Jingzhan and Jinglang. She wanted to say something but found it hard to open her mouth. In the end, she paused and pursed her lips. Father, brother, I'll have to trouble you with the following matters. Jing Yu's way of addressing him could be said to be neither intimate nor warm. Although it was such a subtle form of address, it still made Jing Zhan's cheeks blush slightly. Although he hadn't heard Jing Yu call him father, the word father made Jing Zhan's heart filled with eagerness. I'll arrange it immediately. Jing Zhan couldn't wait to let Jing Yu stay at his home. After this conversation ended, a small whirlwind was set off in the imperial city in the afternoon. The Prime Minister's long-lost granddaughter had been found. The matter of that year was brought up again. The first master of the Prime Minister's manor, Jing Zhan, had just returned to the imperial court and was at loggerheads with the Grand Tutor. Just when everyone was talking about it, such explosive news suddenly broke out. The matter of that year was brought up again. Who in the imperial city didn't know about Jing Zhan's youth? However, that accident was like a fog in the end. There were countless rumors in the outside world and no one knew the truth of the matter. However, it was true that Jing Zhan's wife had died. As for Jing Zhan's daughter, who was the Prime Minister's granddaughter, her whereabouts were unknown. Some said she was dead, some said she was missing. After so many years, she was still a newborn baby. Now, she had probably died in the mouths of tigers and wolves. Chapter 330. So many years had passed. Back then, she was still a newborn baby. Now, she had probably died in the mouth of a tiger and a wolf. Unexpectedly, after 15 years, this matter, which had not been buried, instantly exploded because of Jing Zhan's news. The center of this explosion was naturally the Prime Minister's manor. What did you say? The eldest granddaughter of the Prime Minister's manor is Jing Yu. Jing Yu? Jing Yan was so shocked that she almost bit off her tongue. She had only been out for half a day. As soon as she returned to the manor, she heard such earth-shattering news. She rushed to the main hall of the Prime Minister's manor like a whirlwind. In the main hall of the Prime Minister's manor, everyone gathered together. The person sitting high up was the former head of the Prime Minister's manor, Jing Tingyi. He was also the current Prime Minister. He was about 60 years old. His mottled hair made him look slightly old, but his strength of character had not diminished at all. As early as more than 10 years ago, Jing Tingyi had given up on the affairs of the Jing family and handed over the position of head of the family. He even rarely paid attention to the affairs of the imperial court. However, this time, the matter was really too important. Jing Tingyi was also shocked. The whole family sat in the main hall. Jing Tingyi had a daughter and 2 sons. The eldest daughter was in the prime of her life but died of a serious illness. The 2 sons were Jing Zhan and Jing Zheng. Jing Zhan was the son of the legal wife. He liked martial arts since he was young. He was also very good in literature. As the legitimate son of the Jing family, he was the best candidate to inherit the family business. He had a son and a daughter. Jing Lang had been influenced by his father since he was young. He disdained literature and focused on martial arts. At a young age, he was already a general of 3 armies. Jing Zhan's daughter's whereabouts were unknown after she was born. Jing Zheng was a concubine. He was very tactful and had a lot of experience in politics and business. He also made a lot of friends. He should have been Jing Zhan's helper, but he turned into a competitor. He had 2 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest son, Jing Hao, was always idle and made progress. He was famous for being a hedonistic son. The second daughter, Jing Yan, and the youngest son, Jing Hong, were Jing Tingyi's treasures. They had shown amazing talent since they were young. They were very good at administration. Now, they were in the officialdom and were very valued by Jing Tingyi. This family was sitting in the main hall. All of them looked very unfriendly. Jing Tingyi sat at the head of the table. Jing Zhan and Jing Jing sat below him. Below them were Jing Lang, Jing Hong, and a few other juniors. This was what Jing Yan saw. "Grandfather, what's going on? How can Jing Yu be the eldest daughter of the Jing family?" Jing Yan's face was full of anger. She ran into the hall and looked at Jing Tingyi, who was sitting on the high seat, and said, "Yang, sit down first." In the entire Jing residence, there was only one precious granddaughter, Jing Yan. Jing Tingyi doted on Jing Yan a lot. At such a delicate moment, He waved at Jing Yan before his gaze landed on Jing Zhan. He said, "Is what you said true?" "Of course." Jing Zhan's face was stiff. Without any extra expression, he said coldly to Jing Tingyi, "This jade bead is the keepsake I gave to my daughter back then. It has been verified that there is no falsehood. In addition, Jing Yu came from the Roman forest. The 9th emperors personally brought her to the imperial city. I believe father knows why Jing Yu is in the Roman forest, right?" Jing Zhan's last sentence was full of sarcasm. Jing Tingyi's expression changed slightly. Back then, he had personally forced his son and granddaughter into the Roman forest. How could he not know? Chapter 331. Back then, he had personally forced his son and granddaughter into the Roman forest. How could he not know? Since that's the case, let her come. I'll meet her personally. Jing Tingyi ordered coldly. His eyes were full of complex emotions. The past events that had been sealed away for many years surged into his mind. Even though it had been more than 10 years since that rainy night, Jing Tingyi still felt uneasy every time he thought of it. "My lord, Miss Jing Yu requests an audience." At that moment, a manservant hurriedly ran into the hall and bowed to everyone. "You've come at the right time. Please come in." Jing Tingyi's heart skipped a beat. Jing Tingyi knew a little about the rumors about Jing Yu these days. He had to take it to heart because it was related to the 9 emperors. He didn't expect that such an identity would suddenly be revealed. She was actually the eldest granddaughter of the Jing family who had been missing for 15 years? Under the extremely subtle and different gazes of the crowd, Jing Yu, dressed in a dark purple robe, slowly stepped into the hall. She looked around. There were people she knew and people she didn't know. This made the corners of Jing Yu's mouth slowly curl up into a smile. Her gaze fell on Jing Tingyi, who was sitting in a high position. "Greetings, Prime Minister." Jing Yu casually bowed. Without waiting for Jing Tingyi to speak, she straightened her body and stood in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Jing Tingyi's eyebrows twitched slightly when he saw her. "You are Jing Yu?" Jing Tingyi looked Jing Yu up and down. Only then did he feel that Jing Yu's face was very similar to his daughter-in-law's. Even without a token, he could recognize her. However, when he looked carefully, he felt that they didn't look alike. It wasn't that their faces didn't resemble each other, but that their temperament and aura were very different. "I am Jing Yu." Jing Yu nodded indifferently. The little girl's temperament is not bad. Jing Tingyi sighed slightly in his heart. He had been in a high position for a long time and deliberately used his aura to suppress others. However, he didn't see Jing Yu feel the slightest bit uncomfortable or uneasy. She was clearly standing there alone, but she wasn't shy or timid at all. "Stand over here and let me have a look." Jing Yu's eyes flashed with disdain when she heard Jing Tingyi's condescending tone. She stepped forward and carefully sized up Jing Yu. Finally, his gaze fell on Jing Yu's eyes. Those ink-black eyes had no impurities at all. After staring at Jing Yu's eyes for a long time, Jing Tingyi's tensed heart finally relaxed. There was no difference in color. Could it be that different pupils only existed when one was young? Had it disappeared after such a long time? Jing Tingyi's gaze was somewhat puzzled. He squinted at Jing Yu and said, "How have you spent all these years?" Perhaps God felt that I wasn't destined to die. I was lucky enough to be saved by a gray wolf. I grew up drinking wolf milk and being with beasts. I grew up in a daze. If I wasn't lucky enough to be discovered by the 9 emperors, I'm afraid I would still be in that boundless forest. Jing Yu's words seemed casual, but the contempt, disdain, and ridicule in her words made Jing Tingyi's expression change slightly. "It's good that you're back." Jing Zhan's heart ached when he heard Jing Yu's words. The blame and resentment in her words made Jing Zhan's eyes filled with pity. When Jing Yan saw that Jing Yu was about to acknowledge her ancestors, her expression immediately changed. She quickly said, "Grandfather, these are just Jing Yu's one-sided words. Who knows if she's a fake? What if she stole those beads and tokens?" Chapter 332. Jing Yan. What nonsense are you talking about? You look so much like my late wife. How can she be a fake? Jing Zhan's face suddenly became very ugly. He angrily clenched the wheelchair in his hand. Uncle, I'm doing this for your own good. Jing Yan looked at Jingyu unyieldingly and said, there are many people who look alike in this world. What's more, your daughter has been missing for 15 years. Even if you want to acknowledge her ancestry, you can't be careless. Who knows if there will be people with bad intentions sneaking into our Prime Minister's manor? Jing Zhan was angry and was about to reprimand her, but Jingyu raised her hand to stop him. Miss Jing Yan, your words really hit the nail on the head. Jingyu looked at Jing Yan with a smile and said, Miss Jing Yan, what do you plan to do? If you want to acknowledge your ancestry, that's fine. As long as you're willing to do a blood test and prove that you're the blood of the Jing family, I'll acknowledge you. Jing Yan arrogantly raised her chin and looked at Jingyu. Since Miss Jing Yan has said so, then let's do a blood test. Jingyu listened to Jing Yan's words and raised her eyebrows slightly. However, since it's a blood test, why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to do a blood test together? Jingyu paused slightly and said. Suddenly, everyone in the hall was stunned. Together what? Blood test. Jing Yan's eyes widened in an instant, and her face was full of astonishment. That's right, blood test. Jingyu said with a smile, since we're all from the Prime Minister's manor and have the blood of the Jing family, this blood must be compatible, right? Since it's a blood test, then let's do it together. What? Not only was Jing Yan dumbfounded, but even Jing Zheng and Jing Tingyi were dumbfounded. What? Isn't it a blood test? Miss Jing Yan just said that it's related to the reputation of the Prime Minister's manor. It wouldn't be good if some unknown person sneaked in. Second Master Jing, you can't be careless, right? Jingyu said with a smile. She looked relaxed as if she was joking. My children are fine. They're not lost. What's there to acknowledge? Nonsense. After hearing Jingyu's words, Jing's old face suddenly turned red with anger and he said angrily. They haven't been lost, but there might be other reasons. Jingyu said seriously, well, what if there's an accident that you don't know about? I'm also thinking of the Jing family's bloodline. Am I right, Second Master? Jingyu had a serious look on her face. Her calm eyes made it seem as if she hadn't said anything. What? An accident? Thinking of the bloodline? Wasn't this a roundabout way of making Jing Zheng a cuckold? He was basically saying that Jing Zheng was most likely someone else's child. Such a great humiliation almost made Jing Zheng spit out a mouthful of blood. What do you mean by that? Jing Zheng's face was flushed red. He glared at Jingyu as if he wanted to eat her up. What's the point? Didn't Miss Jing Yan say that? For the reputation of the Jing family's bloodline, we have to be careful. Jingyu smiled and said, Prime Minister, don't you think so? Jing Tingyi's face turned red and white. He glared fiercely at Jing Yan. If she hadn't jumped out and said something about a blood test, such a scene wouldn't have happened. Jing Tingyi took a deep breath and said with a self-righteous and gentle smile, Jingyu? You're Jingyu, right? Yan, I was just fooling around. Grandpa said that you're of the Jing family's bloodline, so you don't need a blood test. Chapter 333. Grandfather? Jing Yan called out unwillingly. Prime Minister, you can't do that, Jingyu sneered and said, how would I dare to call you grandfather without a blood test? If some people say that I'm a swindler with ulterior motives, I don't care, but it won't be good for the reputation of the Prime Minister's manor, right? What do you mean by test? Nonsense. Jing Zheng couldn't sit still. He slammed the table and stood up angrily. Second Master Jing, why are you so agitated? Could it be? Guilty conscience. I'm not agitated, but you're agitated. Could it be that you have a guilty conscience? Jing Yu's pitch-black eyes stared at Jing Zheng. Her words made Jing Zheng's breath choke in his throat, unable to go up or down. Jing Zheng's face was livid. His hand that pointed at Jing Yu couldn't help but tremble. All of you shut up. Jing Tingyi slammed the table and glared at the people below. His expression was uncertain. Finally, he took a deep breath and said, Go and call the second and third young masters here. Father. Jing Zheng's face changed drastically. Shut up. Since you want a blood test, then I'll do it myself. Jing Tingyi's face was livid. His eyes scanned the people below. Although Jing Yu's words just now were said casually, Jing Tingyi had an idea. The Jing family was a big family. Who could say that those hidden things weren't true? Looking at Jing Yu's unwillingness to give up, if they didn't comply with her, they were afraid that no one would be able to get off the stage today. Since that was the case, there was no harm in having a blood test. However, Jing Yu had just entered the Prime Minister's manor and already caused such a big commotion. She was really not simple. When Jing Hao and Jing Hong arrived, their gazes towards Jing Yu were filled with hostility. An unexpected calamity had fallen on her head for no reason. How could she still have any intention of befriending her? Jing Yu disdained them. What threat could a few brats pose to her? As long as she was willing, she would play them to death. After a series of comical blood tests, it was indeed the Jing clan's bloodline. That's great. Congratulations, Second Master Jing. Your son is a member of the Jing clan, not someone else's. Jing Yu smiled and bowed to Jing Zheng. She looked as if she was really happy for him. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone glared at her. It's time to call him second uncle. Jing Zhan was indifferent and had a strange expression on his face as if he didn't hear anything, which made everyone's faces turn ashen. Second uncle. Jing Yu smiled and said, in the future, I will be the granddaughter of the first wife of the Jing family. If I do anything wrong, second uncle won't blame me, right? Jing Zheng fiercely flung his sleeves, but couldn't say a single word. Jing Yu's breathing stagnated. He glared fiercely at Jing Zheng and said, since the bloodline has been confirmed, then inform everyone to clear Jing Yu's name. As for the place to stay, Zhan, you can personally arrange it. Jing Zheng fiercely flung his sleeves, but couldn't say a single word. Jing Tingyi's breathing stagnated. He glared fiercely at Jing Zheng and said, since the bloodline has been confirmed, then inform everyone to clear Jing Yu's name. As for the place to stay, Zhan, you can personally arrange it. Jing Tingyi's breathing stagnated. He glared fiercely at Jing Zheng and said, since the bloodline has been confirmed, then inform everyone to clear Jing Yu's name. As for the place to stay, Zhan, you can personally arrange it. Chapter 334. Jing Tingyi left after saying this. Jing Zheng snorted angrily and left. He had lost a lot of face today. Jing Yu looked at the people who left one after another. A smug smile hung on the corner of her mouth. If you don't want me to please you, I'll disgust you first. Jing Lang looked at Jing Yu silently and gave her a thumbs up. He had stayed in the Prime Minister's manor for so long, but he had never felt so good before. Cough cough cough. Am I considered a member of the Prime Minister's manor? Jing Yu coughed and asked doubtfully. When Jing Zhan and Jing Lang heard this, they immediately felt dizzy. So you were just dreaming when you showed off your power just now? You have offended everyone, and you still ask if I'm a member of the Prime Minister's manor. Jing Yu moved into the Prime Minister's manor in such a grand manner and established her identity. The original wild girl had become the eldest granddaughter of the Prime Minister's manor. She was also the fiancée of the 9th Empress. Her identity instantly became high and mighty. The prince's manor, Lotus Garden. This, take it all away. Jing Yu waved her hand heroically to let people move the things away. Xiao Chen's face was livid as he watched those people move almost everything that could be moved out of the room. Only then did he realize that he seemed to have been tricked by Jing Yu. And that screen. Move it all away. Jing Yu walked toward Xiao Chen with a smile. When she saw Xiao Chen's expression, she coughed awkwardly and said, you said it yourself. I can take away whatever I want. Xiao Chen responded with a cold face. Ayaya. Don't put on a coffin face. Jing Yu rolled her eyes speechlessly and said, I'm going home to live. Now that I have a home, I can't still live here with you, right? We haven't gotten married yet. Don't you think so? Xiao Chen snorted coldly. The words, I'm not happy, were written on his face. Jingyu almost burst out laughing in her heart when she saw his arrogant look. Cough cough. It's fine. They're all in the Imperial City. We can still meet them if we want to. Jingyu patted Xiao Chen's shoulder generously and said, "A woman only gets married once. You must understand how I felt when I got married from my mother's family. It wasn't easy for me to find my family." "Xiao Chen," Jingyu said as she looked at Xiao Chen with a pitiful expression. She looked so delicate that Xiao Chen's eyebrows twitched and his hair stood on end. "All right, I'll send you back to the Prime Minister's residence." Xiao Chen turned his head and walked out. "Oh yeah." Jingyu was so happy that she jumped up and down. However, the moment Xiao Chen turned around to look at her, she immediately hid her delicate and ladylike appearance. A smile flashed across Xiao Chen's eyes and he walked away. Xiao Chen brought Jingyu and walked towards the Prime Minister's residence. He personally sent Jingyu to the small courtyard of the Prime Minister's residence before leaving. This series of actions gave Jingyu enough support. With the status of the 9th Emperors, even Jingyu had to come out personally to welcome him and send him off properly. "In Xiaoa, this courtyard is too small." Jingyu looked at the courtyard that she moved into that was half the size of the lotus garden in the prince's residence. Her face was instantly filled with unhappiness. "It is small." In Xiao nodded foolishly. The face of the housekeeper who arranged the courtyard for Jingyu turned green. However, he didn't dare to say anything. He could only stand behind Jingyu and bear with it. He listened to Jingyu's comments about this and that. "Eldest miss, this is already the best courtyard in the residence." The housekeeper finally couldn't hold it in anymore and said. Chapter 335. Eldest miss, this is already the best courtyard in the manor. The steward finally couldn't hold it in any longer and said, This is still the best courtyard?" Jingyu said in surprise. "Looks like second uncle didn't manage the family well these past few years. He hasn't come up with anything decent in all these years. If this courtyard is considered good, then wouldn't grandfather's courtyard be so small that it can't even stand?" Jingyu sighed repeatedly and said, "Luckily I'm back. In the future, I will help second uncle share some of the burden. I will definitely bring the family to the next level." Hearing this, the steward's eyes were filled with mockery. "Why are you still following me? Do you still want to be rewarded?" Jingyu looked at the steward in surprise. Her words instantly made the steward's expression change. He held back his anger and said that he wouldn't dare, then left with a flick of his sleeves, cursing along the way. What? Does she really think she's the eldest miss of the Prime Minister's manor? It's just a title. The steward's eyes were filled with disgust. After thinking about it, he turned to Jing Zheng's courtyard and told Jing Zheng everything that Jingyu had said in full detail. Jing Zheng was so angry that he smashed everything in the study. Even when he heard that Jing Zhan was back, he wasn't this angry. Now, Jingyu had just entered the manor and made him lose face. She even provoked him like this. He really couldn't stand it. Jingyu had just returned to the Prime Minister's manor and Jing Yan couldn't wait to find her. Jingyu had been moving things the entire day and didn't have the mind to pay attention to her. She cleanly told Yin Xiao to chase her away. She wanted to sleep. "Jingyu, come out." Jing Yan's face was red. She came to find Jingyu, but she was stopped at the door. At this moment he didn't care about whether they were allowed to enter or not. He directly led his men and barged in. His aggressive appearance made Jingyu, who was about to sleep, feel anger rising in her heart. "Jingyu." Jing Yan was about to speak when she saw Jingyu. "What about you?" Jingyu glared at Jing Yan and said, "Open your eyes and look carefully. I am now the granddaughter of the Prime Minister Manor's first wife. My status is higher than yours. You're just a concubine's daughter, yet you dare to yell at me." Had he learned all the clan rules and etiquette? "You bastard." He didn't even want his head anymore. "I said I don't want to see anyone. Go and ask elder brother to send a few guards to this young lady's courtyard entrance. Who would dare to barge in again? Kill them all." Jingyu glared fiercely at the crowd and said, "My Prime Minister's residence has its own rules and regulations. If he ruined the reputation of the Prime Minister's manor, serve him according to the family rules." Jing Yan. Even if you're the young miss of the Jing clan, I can't let you go. She's just a concubine's daughter and she dares to make a fuss in front of me. He was truly out of control. Kick them all out? Jing Yu waved her hand and left, completely ignoring Jing Yu and the others who were stunned by her words. The words concubine's daughter made Jing Yan tremble all over. She dares to speak to me like that? Jing Yan's eyes were filled with disbelief. For so many years, everyone in the manor had been respectful to her. No one had dared to talk about a concubine's daughter because she was the only young lady in the Prime Minister manor. Even if she was a concubine's daughter, she was the only young lady in the manor. But now that Jing Yu was back, things were different. Jing Yu's bloodline had been verified. She was the granddaughter of the Prime Minister manor's first wife. Jing Yu's words just now were not wrong at all. Chapter 336. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and invite second miss out. Yin Xiao finally regained her senses. She coughed and ordered arrogantly as she stood at the bottom of the stairs. Yin Xiao was Jing Yu's personal maidservant. Moreover, she was one of the 9 emperors. Who dared to disobey her? When Yin Xiao called her second miss, it made Jing Yan's expression extremely ugly. She even emphasized the word, please. Just like that, Jing Yan was so humiliated that she didn't even have the chance to speak to Jing Yu before she was kicked out of the courtyard by Jing Yu. She stood at the entrance of the courtyard for a long time, unable to regain her senses. Jing Yu, I'm not done with you. Jing Yan roared at the tightly shut door in a flustered and exasperated manner. She didn't look like a well-bred young lady at all. Jing Yu lay comfortably on the bed and muttered speechlessly. What was this? This young lady's mouth doesn't only know how to eat. After this incident, Jing Yu had a rare moment of relaxation. Finally, no one came to disturb her. After familiarizing herself with the people in the Prime Minister's residence for a day, she got to know all the people in the backyard. Today, Jing Yu had just returned from Nishang Park and explained all the matters in the shop. Unexpectedly, when she returned to the small courtyard, she saw a woman waiting there. This concubine greets eldest Mississippi. That woman was dressed in gold and silver. Her face was covered in flour. When she spoke, the fragrance that assailed her nostrils made Jing Yu take 2 steps back. Cuff. It's second aunt. How come you have the time to come sit in my courtyard? The person in front of her was Jing Zheng's legal wife, Mei Jinghe. Her father was a wealthy businessman. It was also because of her support that Jing Zheng's business could have such great achievements. For so many years, Jing Zheng was in charge of external affairs while Mei Jinghe was in charge of the matters in the backyard. The treasury's accounts were all handled by Mei Jinghe. One had to admit that this woman was really capable. She handled the affairs of the Prime Minister's residence properly. Jing Tingyi also praised Mei Jinghe greatly. Eldest young miss, this concubine is here to deliver a servant to you. Mei Jinghe was born beautiful, but she was old after all. She was very concerned about her appearance. Her snow-white face was really scary. Send off a maidservant? Jing Yu leaned back slightly and asked with a frown. It's the first time that eldest miss has returned to the Prime Minister's manor. The expenses of the maidservants of the eldest daughter have to be settled for you. Eldest miss, see if any of these maidservants are to your liking. Mei Jinghe smiled very considerately and gently. No need, I have Yin Xiao as my personal maid. That's enough. Jing Yu said casually, just leave a few maidservants to clean the yard. I'm sorry to trouble you, second aunt. This. Mei Jinghe's expression paused slightly. Then she smiled again and said, it's nothing, this is what this concubine should do. Ah. Jing Yu laughed with a fake smile. She looked at Mei Jinghe and said, second aunt, you came at the right time. I heard that the internal affairs of the Prime Minister's residence were handled by second aunt in the past. Second aunt is really amazing. You must be exhausted these years, right? How can this concubine say that I'm tired to be able to do my part for the Prime Minister's residence? Mei Jinghe's heart skipped a beat. There was a feeling of uneasiness in her heart. She also replied carefully. There's nothing to be afraid of. In the future, with me around, second aunt can have a good rest. Jingyu said with a smile. Eldest young miss, what do you mean? Mei Jinghe's heart suddenly jumped. She looked at Jingyu with fear and asked with surprise and confusion in her eyes. Chapter 337. What's wrong? Jingyu looked at Mei Jinghe in confusion and said, I said that second aunt can rest in the future. Since I'm back, I naturally have to support the family business. I'll have to trouble second aunt to bring me all the accounts of the manor. What? Mei Jinghe was shocked. She didn't expect Jingyu to be like this. The first thing she said was to snatch the power of the inner courtyard. What's wrong? Don't tell me, second aunt doesn't want to give it to me? Jingyu's face was slightly cold. She looked at Mei Jinghe and said, Second aunt, I respect you as second uncle's legal wife and call you aunt. I'm the granddaughter of the first wife of the Jing family. Originally, the affairs of the manor should be managed by my mother. Unfortunately, my mother passed away early. Thank you, second aunt, for helping the manor all these years. Now that I'm back, I should take over the affairs of the manor. Don't tell me that second aunt has coveted the power of the matriarch and is unwilling to give it to me? Jingyu looked at Mei Jinghe like a knife and said, If that's the case, then I really have to go to grandfather and ask for an explanation. Mei Jinghe's face was extremely ugly. She was about to explode, but she forcibly suppressed her emotions. I don't dare. Mei Jinghe lowered her head and said, I'm just worried. Eldest miss has never learned how to manage finances. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to take over the accounts so hastily. Don't you still have auntie? Jingyu waved her hand generously and said, If there's anything I don't understand, auntie will definitely do her best to teach me, right? If so, grandfather will definitely be very happy. I'll have to trouble auntie in the future. Of course. Mei Jinghe repeatedly agreed. After listening to Jingyu's words, her anxious heart finally relaxed. She exchanged some pleasantries with Jingyu and then respectfully left. When she left, she still had a happy expression on her face. Jingyu smiled as she watched Mei Jinghe leave the courtyard. Only then did the smile on her face slowly disappear, and her eyes narrowed slightly. This Mei Jinghe was not simple. After Mei Jing he left the courtyard, she slowly stood up straight and looked at Jingyu ferociously. She didn't look respectful at all. She turned around and looked at Jingyu's courtyard. She said icily, It seems like the Jing clan has let a poisonous snake in. What does madam mean? Mei Jinghe's maid, Lu Ping, asked in confusion. You want to snatch the position of matriarch from me? Hurry up and call Steward Wang over. I have something to tell him. Mei Jinghe's eyes turned slightly and she said, You're still a little girl after all. Since you want to check the accounts, I'll let you check as much as you want. LV Ping bowed. The next day, Mei Jinghe really sent the account book to Jingyu. Jingyu flipped through the account book excitedly, but how could Jingyu possibly understand? What kind of method was this? And it was all in capital letters. Jingyu's eyes twitched. She decisively sent the people away, saying that she wanted to study it properly. The person who sent the account book looked at it for a long time. When he saw that Jingyu didn't understand, he smiled and said with relief that the account book should be left with Jingyu. It wouldn't be too late to take it back after checking it. But, even though Jingyu couldn't understand, it didn't mean that other people couldn't understand. Chapter 338. However, even though Jingyu couldn't stand it, it wasn't like other people couldn't. In the restaurant, Jingyu leaned comfortably on a chair and drank tea. On the other side, Fang Zicheng and Xin Yuqing were holding onto the account book that Jingyu had brought over and were diligently calculating the accounts. Little Ye, you called this young master here to do this? Fang Zicheng could be said to be incomparably bitter. Seeing Jingyu drinking tea and eating snacks, he simply wanted to rush over and strangle Jingyu to death. Why else do you think I called you here? Jingyu calmly rolled her eyes. As expected of husband and wife, this young master has fallen into your hands. Fang Zicheng glared fiercely at Jingyu and said, You're the same as ninth master. Pih. Cough cough cough. Jingyu choked on the words husband and wife from Fang Zicheng and said, the two of us aren't married yet. What husband and wife? Do you believe that I won't throw you out if you continue to be long-winded? In the future, put up a sign at the entrance of the restaurant that Fang Zicheng and dogs are not allowed to enter. Fifth. Shen Yuqing was calculating the accounts when he heard the two's conversation and couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? Get back to work. Fang Zicheng glared at Jingyu sullenly and helplessly continued to check the accounts. From morning to evening, all the accounts from the past few years were finished. Fang Zicheng was indeed the son of a scholar. He had his own methods of calculating accounts and was incomparably fast. Shen Yuqing was also an old hand. The two of them combined the accounts and finished checking everything without leaving anything out. Are there no problems with these accounts? Jingyu asked doubtfully. There are no problems at all. Some of the losses have been made up for later. Fang Zicheng was unbearably tired. He rubbed his sore shoulders and looked at Jingyu as he said, on the surface, there are no problems with the accounts, but every residence has a hidden account book. Jingyu, you should pay attention to this. Hidden accounts? Jingyu was stunned for a moment before she remembered that there was such a thing. Besides, it's so easy for people to fake accounts nowadays. Fang Zicheng arched his eyebrows and said, you should go and search that room. I guarantee that you will definitely find something unexpected. That makes sense. Jingyu's eyes lit up. She looked at Fang Zicheng with a smile and said, can I trouble you to pass a message to Ninth Master? Tell him that I want to borrow his second interrogation officer. Jingyu said it so matter-of-factly, but Fang Zicheng's face turned completely black. Jingyu, do you really think I'm a manservant? Fang Zicheng went berserk. Oh. I just blurted it out. Jingyu quickly stood up and walked to Fang Zicheng's side. She rubbed Fang Zicheng's shoulders and said, young Master Fang, calm down, calm down. A little to the left, a little to the right, a little to the right. Do you know how to massage? A little below, yes, yes, yes. Rub this for me too. Use more strength, Fang Zicheng commanded Jingyu comfortably. Jingyu's face darkened bit by bit. Use more strength. Did you not eat? Damn you. Do you really think I'm a maid? Scram. Jingyu kicked Fang Zicheng's chair over and then left. Tisk, she's really not like a woman. Fang Zicheng grimaced as he rubbed his aching waist. He looked at the departing Jingyu with a smile in his eyes. Only when he was with Jingyu did he feel a sense of joy from the bottom of his heart. Chapter 339. Late at night, Jingyu was bored and holed up in her bedroom. This bedroom had been renovated by Jingyu and was similar to the rooms in the Wangfu. However, it was still different. The room that she had finally gotten used to was suddenly changed. This made Jingyu extremely depressed. Yin Xiao was guarding outside the door. In the dead of the night, Jingyu was about to fall asleep from waiting. Finally, she heard movement outside the window. She immediately ran outside the window excitedly and opened it. However, the moment Jingyu opened the window, she was stunned. Xiaochen? Why is it you? Jingyu raised her eyebrows in surprise. Didn't she ask to call Xing Er over? Are you unhappy to see this king? Xiao Chen's face darkened when he heard this. Without another word, he jumped in through the window with one hand. To think that he, the great ninth emperors, actually had to jump in through the window to see Jingyu. If this were to spread out, wouldn't he become a laughingstock? Hey. Jingyu pulled on Xiao Chen, who was about to walk in, and said, I have serious business to attend to. Where's Xing Er? Xiao Chen's face became uglier and uglier. He approached Jingyu step by step. Jingyu blinked and looked at Xiao Chen. She carefully retreated and said, Xiao Chen, what are you doing? I really have serious business to attend to. Could it be that in your eyes, this king's martial arts are inferior to a shadow guard? Xiao Chen was really angry this time. Jingyu retreated to the screen behind her and had no way out. She carefully looked at Xiao Chen. I don't dare to trouble you. Jingyu raised her hand and blocked Xiao Chen's approaching chest. Jingyu? Xiao Chen's pitch-black eyes flashed with a strange light as he called out Jing Yu's name in a low voice. Jing Yu's heart trembled slightly when she heard this. Her hand unconsciously loosened. Xiao Chen bent down and captured Jing Yu's red lips. This kiss was different from the previous ones. It seemed to have a strong sense of helplessness. Was it reluctance or reluctance? Jing Yu was a little dizzy. Under the candlelight, the side of Xiao Chen's handsome face was illuminated. His pitch-black eyes sparkled with something else. When he raised his hand to gently caress Jing Yu's cheek, she felt as if she had been electrocuted. Jing Yu's body trembled and her heart couldn't help but beat violently. "I'm willing to wait. Wait for the day when you're willing." Xiao Chen looked at Jing Yu with a burning gaze. Jing Yu pursed her lips and looked at Xiao Chen. She slowly lowered her head. Just as she was thinking about how to react, Xiao Chen suddenly wrapped his arm around Jing Yu's waist. When Jing Yu was caught off guard, he leaped out of the window. His floating figure was like a ghost as he instantly leaped onto the roof. Jing Yu's expression froze. She knew what Xiao Chen was trying to do. She restrained her emotions and tried her best to cooperate with his footsteps. She hid and whispered into his ear as she guided him. Finally, they arrived at Xiao Chen's study. Only then did Xiao Chen let go of Jing Yu. "Split up and search for the account book." Jing Yu threw out these words and entered the inner room of the study like a cat. She used the darkness to conceal herself as she casually walked. Her fingers touched every corner and her eyes darted around as if she was looking for a hidden mechanism. Her seemingly casual movements were actually the best way to attack. Jing Yu was able to dodge no matter which angle the attack came from. Then she would use the things around her to escape. This was an instinct. Jing Yu was very familiar with this series of actions. However, Xiao Chen, who was standing in the same spot, had a serious expression on his face as he watched. Chapter 340. When a person had this kind of instinct, it meant that she must have done it often in the past. In this world, there were only two kinds of people who had this kind of instinct. One was an assassin who had undergone long-term training, and the other was a fugitive. Obviously, no matter which kind, it couldn't be Jing Yu. But now, Jing Yu was showing this kind of behavior very naturally. How could Xiao Chen not be surprised? Jing Yu was seriously looking for the hidden compartment and didn't notice Xiao Chen's expression at all. Xiao Chen stood in place for a while and also began to search. Jing Yu leaned against the wall and gently knocked on it. As she felt her way, she finally heard an empty voice. "Xiao Chen." Jing Yu turned her head and called out. Her gaze fell on the candle holder fixed on the wall. Xiao Chen stood beside Jing Yu. Jing Yu raised her hand and waved the candle holder. Sure enough, it moved. Finally, with a kacha sound, the smooth wall flipped open. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen looked at each other and then carefully stepped in. This is simply a treasure trove. Jing Yu looked at the dazzling array of ornaments in the secret room in astonishment. Her gaze fell on the bookshelf and she strode over to look. After rummaging for a while, Jing Yu's sharp eyes saw a stack of paper. Xiao Jingran. Jing Yu looked carefully. Xiao Chen heard the sound and also came over. It's a letter from Jing Zheng and Xiao Jingran. Xiao Chen raised his hand and took a closer look. His face was slightly gloomy as he said, "This is good stuff. You want it? Take it if you want." Jing Yu generously stuffed the letter in her hand into Xiao Chen's hand without any hesitation. Xiao Chen was slightly surprised and said, "You're really not polite." "It's not mine. Of course I won't be polite." Jing Yu rolled her eyes and continued to rummage. Finally, she found a small account book in a box. Her eyes immediately lit up. She raised her hand and opened the account book. When she saw the contents, a smile appeared on her face. He found it. Jing Yu proudly waved the account book in her hand and said, "The Prime Minister's residence is going to be turned upside down. Jing Zheng is really pitiful." Xiao Chen said this sentence incomparably indifferently. He pulled Jing Yu's hand and walked out. But at this moment, the two suddenly heard footsteps outside. Then a faint voice. "Second Master, you're still not asleep?" "Oh, I suddenly remembered some business of business. You're too kind. Master is the one who's working hard. The voice faded away, but the footsteps came closer. Xiao Chen and Jing Yu looked at each other. Xiao Chen grabbed Jing Yu's waist and jumped onto the roof beam. He carefully shrank his body into the triangular beam to ensure that his shadow would not be exposed. Jing Yu lowered her breathing and narrowed her eyes as she looked at the door that was pushed open. The person who walked in was indeed Jing Zheng. After Jing Zheng entered the room, he lit the candles in the study. Then, he carefully looked outside the door and closed it. Under the nervous gazes of Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, he really went into the secret room. After Jing Zheng entered, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen looked at each other and jumped down from the roof beam. Oh my god! If we don't run now, when will we? Xiao Chen's face was also flushed with sweat. He hugged Jing Yu and quickly made his way out of Jing Zheng's study. Just as they jumped onto the roof, they heard Jing Yu's earth-shattering voice from the room. It scared Jing Yu and Xiao Chen so much that they trembled and quickly ran into Jing Yu's courtyard. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.